The boy honestly thought it was just a regular hand bone, nothing special. He had no clue that turning it on would change everything. He would end up catching the attention of a Reaper. He was like a guardian and a lifesaver all at once. Both sides got into a massive fight that pretty much shook the whole place. He went through all that effort just to get him on the team. The Reaper straight up told him he'd turn him into a death. All of his stats shot straight to the max just like that. The angel said he could become a temple mage. He saw all these offers that honestly looked way too good to turn down. Mew didn't even hesitate, he just shut the Reaper down right away. Turns out, in this world the game isn't just on their screens anymore, it's literally part of real life now. Suddenly, dungeon monsters started showing up all over this blue planet. Evil creatures showed up with the Reaper leading them, and they started wiping everybody out. There wasn't anything people could do to stop it. Even though Su Moon wasn't exactly the toughest guy around, he never once bylayed when the Reaper showed up. His story ended when the Reaper sliced him clean in half with that scythe. He just couldn't accept that was it for him. Right then, the creator gave him another shot at life. Out of nowhere, Su Moose jumped to his feet in the middle of class and made it clear he wasn't having it. Everyone in the room instantly looked his way. The teacher totally lost it. He stared down, not believing the attitude he was seeing. With grades like trying to take the college entrance exam sounded like a joke to the teacher. He couldn't figure out why he was acting stubborn and just wanted him to sit down and stop causing trouble for everyone else during the test. Just stopped in his tracks, he realized he was still alive. The speakers crackled to life, announcing there were 5 minutes left before the exam started. Everyone in the room started getting ready. He realized he was back on the exact day Apocalypse Online dropped 10 years ago. He stared at the ring in his hand and suddenly noticed it was the Apocalypse game ring he'd brought back with him. Since that ring was how you got into the game, he started wondering if he could jump in before anyone else. When didn't even react to what she said, the teacher just lost it and yanked him up by the collar. She looked straight up furious, calling him useless and demanding he pay attention, like he wasn't even listening or couldn't hear her at all. She even threatened to toss him out of class right then and there. Just shut him down, tossing out his stuff and telling him to leave. He made it clear this guy didn't deserve any respect. Couldn't forget how, when things went downhill during the apocalypse, this dude bylayed on his own students and took off like a coward. He threw out one last comment and walked off. He didn't care about the exam anymore. He was all in for Apocalypse Online now. The other guy was about to find out what real chaos looked like. Everyone in class had their eyes on him as he walked away, thinking he was actually pretty cool. Still remembered how the apocalypse was about to mess up every single job out there. At that point, game money basically turned into real cash. People could swap one rare weapon for something wild, like a high-end car. Even some countries started using Apocalypse Online to handle their business. A bunch of people suddenly got rich just by playing the game. Some people just kept sinking, like things kept getting worse and there was no way out. Beneath all the hype and all the risks, there was something way tougher. The game was actually taking over. War took over everywhere, cities fell apart, and people almost disappeared for good. Even when things looked bad, people still kept believing things could get better. Everyone came together and did whatever it took to make it through. Nobody was left standing by the end. Sumu finally got a shot to reset his life. The game wasn't out yet, but Mew figured he'd try to get in ahead of everyone else. He thought maybe he could shake things up before anything even started. As soon as he twisted the ring, light shot out everywhere, lighting up the whole spot like someone turned on super bright LEDs. His body started breaking apart, turning into tiny bits and fading away. He suddenly got yanked straight into endless lines of code, like his whole world just switched into some wild digital mess. The guide in this game wasn't your typical hot NPC. He was an old dude with white hair and a full-on white beard, looking nothing like the usual characters guys expected to see. Honestly, didn't think he'd ever pull it off, but somehow he logged in for real. The old man pulled up 5 jobs and told him he had to pick one. Mew knew right away he wanted to be a warlock, but later on, he changed things up and picked a hybrid class that could do a bit of everything. After dealing with how expensive it was to play as a mage, he was done with that for good. Right after that, a system pop-up showed up saying he couldn't switch jobs, like the command just failed. Mew just froze for a second. Seriously, he hadn't even picked his job yet. The old man told him to pull up his stats before doing anything else. Saw the screen and just stopped. No way his old account was still there even after being reborn. Things got even messier. Every single one of his levels and stats just got wiped out. Mew wanted to know if the old man had messed with his stuff. Leveling up as a mage is straight up brutal, just eats up cash non-stop. As soon as Mew called him out, the old man dipped, not sticking around for any trouble. Mew wasn't ready to give up yet. He opened up his inventory, hoping there was still some gear or supplies left in there. The place was wiped clean. He didn't have any gold gear or stuff from before. This respawn honestly felt pointless. Out of nowhere, he spotted a finger bone. Reaper's finger bone. Staring at it kinda messes with your head, like something dark is looking right back at you. This bone was honestly trash, just some random piece with no value. He started wondering where his big rebirth bonus was supposed to be. A notification popped up, letting everyone know that Wood God just became the first player in Apocalypse Online. He just scored the first player title and got called the fastest guy out there. On top of that, he picked up the beginner mage set, pretty solid way to start things off. Couldn't believe what he just heard. Fastest man, like seriously, did they really think he couldn't handle that? He wasn't about to just take that title and chill, no way. 1 second he was acting like he didn't care, but as soon as he saw those stats he switched up fast. Those numbers were just too insane to ignore. His movement and casting got a 20% boost, and his dodge and defense stats both went up by 5%. He took off, ready to throw down with a bunch of wild boars. He threw out a quick fireball. His attack barely made a dent, and honestly it was kind of embarrassing. He'd been at the top for so long he started getting cocky. The second things got real he dipped, just took off running. It's like chill out, no need to catch feelings over it. If he wanted he could have wiped the whole squad with one move, no sweat. Out of nowhere someone started yelling for help, their voice bouncing around the place. There was this huge boar going after a young woman, charging right at her like it was on a mission. She looked totally wrecked, like she'd been through a lot. Her clothes were barely there, barely hanging on. Right when things got intense, the system dropped a rescue the beauty quest. If he pulled it off, he'd score 20 gold and 500 EXP, definitely worth the grind. Mew couldn't believe his luck. He'd just unlocked a super rare hidden quest, like he was on some crazy winning streak. He threw his arms out, set to catch her like it was a big movie moment. Out of nowhere, he swung his arm and smacked her hard across the face. The girl just stood there, not moving at all, totally caught off guard. Even the Boar King stopped in his tracks, clearly thrown off by how weird that move was. Smacked, cutting him off before he could finish his excuse. Was about to say he was just out picking mushrooms, but everyone already knew what really happened. He messed around in the woods, ran into the Boar King, and ended up getting chased like crazy. He wondered how the hero figured it out. Stood there looking super confident. He remembered all kinds of stuff, like that time as a kid putting frogs in Old's water tank just for laughs. He even noticed things today, like how the guy skipped wearing underwear. Could tell he was just pretending to be helpless to get his attention, and he was about to call him out on even more. Out of nowhere, these red threads just started wrapping all around her. It was like someone decided she'd seen way too much. She let out a cold laugh, almost like she couldn't believe someone would actually try to read her mind. He just needed to act like a normal person. Mew suddenly popped up right behind the Boar King, messing around and basically telling the boar to just chill and do its thing for now. The Boar King barely had time to process what was happening before the girl just sprinted right at him, not hesitating for a second. She was determined to push through, like nothing could slow her down. When the Boar King heard that, he just lost it. His pride took a serious hit. The thing let out a loud roar and rushed straight at her. Before it even got close, the thing got cut up into perfect little cubes. He realized it was finally his shot. Jumped in fast, telling her to stop. As soon as he pointed out she was exposed, she just froze up. Saw an opening and launched a huge fireball. The girl didn't see it coming, she got burned, and her clothes, already ripped up, started falling apart even more. He stared at the guy, totally done with his crap. The way he'd been played just got under his skin, like, who did this dude think he was messing with? Mew couldn't help himself. He went full troll mode and launched another fireball her way. The girl took off after Sumu, running full speed through the woods like she was locked in on a mission. He thought back to something he'd learned before. That girl couldn't go more than 10 meters past the edge of the forest without just stopping in her tracks. Right now he was just past the edge of the trees, maybe a little over 10 meters out. He crooked his finger, basically daring anyone to step up and take a swing if they weren't scared. She had no clue what was up and just went to grab him like it was nothing. Something weird went down. Right when Sumu's hand got super close, it just froze, like something invisible was holding her back. She tried everything to push ahead, but nothing worked. It was like she was stuck in place and couldn't figure out what was holding her back. Mew, being the ultimate troll, didn't waste any time and just dropped falling flames right away. She basically turned into the easiest target out there. When the red threads disappeared from her skin, just dropped and passed out. His screen lit up with a message from the system. He just took down Corrupted Wa. Instantly, he scored 500 gold and racked up 1,500 EXP. He just wrapped up the Hero Saves Beauty quest and scored 200 gold plus 500 EXP. Right after, he knocked out the Hidden Quest 2, racking up 1,000 gold and a huge 10,000 EXP. His level went up right away, so it was pretty clear was basically his good luck charm. He was seconds away from seeing what loot dropped when everything suddenly paused. He got a ping from the system. The Reaper's finger bone just leveled up. It just hadn't turned on yet. He had to gather 3 things to get it working. Some essence from the divine tree, a stash of 3,000 mummy bandages, and 3,000 units of dried blood. So Mew just stood there, not even sure what to say. For real, this much stuff just to turn on one thing. He didn't waste time overthinking it. He figured he'd just pick them up one by one. Then he reached out and helped get back on his feet. Wa wanted to show some real thanks for having her back, so she gave him a Heaven Fire Staff and a hairpin. Mew spotted the Heaven Fire Staff and instantly knew it was on another level, definitely. He planned to get it checked out once he hit the starter village. Scoring this secret quest was seriously a game changer. The system popped up with a quest, had to get back to the village. Without even thinking twice, he was already on it. As soon as he picked up and carried her on his back, he pretty much turned into Pig Bro. The way she felt super soft and bouncy was honestly next level. The weather hadn't changed at all, it was the same old vibe outside. He pulled up to the starter village and the place was popping, people everywhere all doing their thing. He walked in and saw his grandpa, letting him know he was home. Turns out was the village chief's granddaughter, which he definitely didn't see coming. Let her grandpa know that she wouldn't have made it home without Mew's help. The old man started to thank him and tried to introduce someone named but wasn't having it. He interrupted right away, telling the guy to drop the sunflower seeds and skip all the talking. Just wanted to get straight to the quest, no time for extra stuff. If he didn't hurry the old man up, that guy would just sit there, popping sunflower seeds and going off about random stuff forever. Seriously, nobody could deal with all that. Everyone in the village was saying still had some weird dark energy stuck in her. The chief said the only way to get rid of it for good was with blood from a corrupted zombie. Once Mew took the quest, he dipped right away. He stopped by the potion shop first, because any mage heading out for a fight needed to gear up. No way was he about to risk it all and get wiped just from being unprepared. The shop owner gave off major big sister vibes, and she definitely had that attractive look going on. When she noticed him, it was obvious she recognized him as the younger guy who always stopped by. Mew's legs almost gave out as he realized what he needed, and he rushed to grab 28 small mana potions. Each one was 50 gold, so he dropped 1,200 gold in one go without thinking twice. That's when it really hit him, being a mage just drains your wallet non-stop. Out of nowhere, a sweet scent drifted by him. It was his little brother just grabbing mana potions and skipping over his big sis. She was actually in a chill mood today, so she offered him a half-off deal. Caught a chill and instantly shook his head. He was good, he didn't need any of that. No way, he knew better than to mess with that blacksmith. Dude was all muscle, no chill. The blacksmith glared at, clearly annoyed. Panicked for a second, scrambling to cover it up, and just started hyping up the blacksmith, saying stuff to make him look good. He wanted that appraisal card, and honestly he just hoped the guy and the potion lady ended up happy together. Mew found a quiet spot to chill. For him, checking stuff out with appraisal was way more hype than messing around with raw stones in real life. Down the line, some players would actually get so good at this, it became their main thing. He figured he'd test his luck by betting on the blacksmith's decade-long single streak. Maybe that would finally score him something awesome. He checked the appraisal and it worked. The item turned out to be purple grade. This thing dropped wild crit bursts and those Manhwa effects were nuts. He made bank off it. Just dipped out of there, walking like he owned the place, humming to himself like he was on top of the world. Zombies kept dropping left and right as fire rained down, burning them up without anyone even trying. Honestly had no idea that the falling flames would start popping off non-stop for him, even though it was only supposed to happen 10% of the time. Maybe that Reaper's finger bone was actually boosting his luck, or maybe he just had that main character energy going on today. He hustled and grabbed all 6,000 units of dry blood without wasting any time. The game was just about to drop for real. Even just thinking about it got his adrenaline going. In no time, there'd be hundreds of players all chasing the same zombie, and honestly, that madness was going to be wild. By the time it hit noon, the day was already moving. Everyone started twisting their rings around their fingers. Soon after, word got around in the starter village about players messing with the potion lady's legs. At the same time, a bunch of guys saw their EXP tank into the negatives thanks to the blacksmith. Not long after, someone dropped a message in the world chat saying they hadn't spotted any zombies anywhere, but the place was just straight up flames everywhere. Mew was already at his spot, all set up and ready to start selling his stuff. He saw the hate blowing up in world chat, but honestly he wasn't bothered. He figured those guys could keep running their mouths for another hour and a half. Once the monsters popped back up, they'd quiet down real quick. He did a quick count in his head. The stuff he was holding had to be worth at least 30,000 gold. That was basically earning 30k an hour, which totally blew any normal job out of the water. When you really looked at this troll, you could tell he was already leveled up, like he just took off right from the jump. He started yelling about how the stuff was expensive but actually looked awesome. He wanted everyone to check it out before it was gone. Everyone started clowning on him. They saw him skipping out on grinding mobs just to set up a stall, and nobody could figure out what he was even trying to sell. To them, he looked straight up wild, like he'd lost it. Caught himself smirking. He could tell his older brother was keeping his real level on the down low. Out of nowhere, he noticed these long, stunning legs standing right in front of him. The girl just kept it cool, basically calling out how the stuff was way too expensive and honestly not even worth it. Just froze, that was Ting right in front of him. The second she walked in, everyone started staring. Her legs were next level, and that face, no way anyone could ignore her. Honestly, most guys there would probably give up years of their life just to call her their girlfriend. Ended up as one of the top 10 warlocks in the future, and after the world basically fell apart, he took charge as the main commander of District 1. Her guild was actually backed by some legit sponsors. Plus, since the early days of Apocalypse didn't let you change how you looked, her in-game character being that flawless meant she really looked like that in real life. Wasn't ready to run into this goddess here. She actually looked kinda cute, and he started thinking, maybe this is what it feels like to watch your main character level up. She looked at him like he was clueless or maybe just acting weird. In her head, guys were always loud and dramatic, never changing. She rolled her eyes, ready to check out whatever junk he was trying to push. She spotted his stall and just stopped. It was stacked with loot and zombie blood, and it wasn't even late in the day. The whole zombie zone was wild. People were basically scrambling for anything they could grab. She couldn't figure out how he managed to get all that stuff. Spotted her and wanted to know what she was looking to get. Didn't waste any time, she just asked straight up how much it'd cost to buy everything. Checked her out for a second, then told her the total was 54, but he rounded it up to 55,000 just for her. Just froze for a second. Most people drop the price when you buy more, but this dude actually bumped it up. Laughed without holding back. He had this look that said he didn't care what anyone thought. If someone complained about the price, he'd just toss out his own kind of deal, offering a discount if he could touch their leg like it was no big deal to him. His face turned red, totally fired up as she called him out for being a creep. Mew could tell she was probably going to buy it no matter what, so he just shrugged it off and acted like he didn't care. He let her know this was her shot, and if she passed on it now, there wouldn't be a do-over. Knew what was up. She could tell right away that Su Mew was trying to play her. Money wasn't a big deal for her, but she definitely wasn't about to just let herself get finessed. Out of nowhere, someone yelled from way across the room, saying they'd drop $100 and take the whole thing. Glanced up and spotted someone he recognized right away. It was that wild god of war, the one who always caused trouble. Got irritated right away. Back in his old life, that dude just wouldn't let him breathe. With his spot as the Madman Guild's boss and sitting in the top 10 for warriors, he pretty much owned the place, stealing bosses, taking out other players, and running things like he was the main villain. Sumo kept getting wiped out and robbed by him, losing all his gear and falling further behind in levels every time. But this time around, he wasn't about to let that slide. Ting lost his cool. Mad God of War was really pushing it. She'd already sorted things out with the stall owner, but Mad God of War just gave her the smug look like he was playing some game she couldn't win. To him, deals only mattered if they were finished. Whoever offered more always came out on top. That's just how it worked. Sure, he thought she looked good, but when it came to fighting him for gear, he wasn't about to back down. As soon as Ting heard the offer, he didn't waste a second and dropped 150 right away. But Mad God of War just flexed, raising it to 200,000 without even blinking, and told him to hurry up and make the deal. Was chilling and enjoying the show. Guys like and Mad God showed up ready to drop serious cash just to snag that first dungeon clear. Did the math in her head, 200 grand was a lot, but grabbing this gear would seriously level up her guild. With it, her squad could roll over everyone else at the start. There was no way she'd let Mad God snatch it first. Out of nowhere, started acting all shy. She basically told he could tap her leg 10 times just like he suggested earlier, as long as he gave her what she wanted in the game. To her, it was just for fun, but she was serious about getting that first kill. Didn't think she'd actually be down for it, but she reminded him he made the deal, so there's no taking it back now. He started waving everyone off, making it clear he was only dealing with her now. The others got the hint and backed off, realizing she was the only one getting his attention. The Mad God of War completely lost it. He couldn't believe someone would actually talk to him like that. Did they even know who he was? In his head, that was basically a death wish. Snapped back, not even bothered by who was in front of him. He just wanted this dude out of his way so he could handle his own stuff. Mad God was losing it. He basically dared anyone to step out of the safe zone if they were brave enough. Meanwhile, his right-hand guy tried to calm him down, saying not to stress. Once that dude left the safe zone, they'd take him down fast. He watched him leave the village, already planning to teach him a serious lesson once he was gone. Weird noises started coming out of the forest. He hesitated, not sure if this was a good idea. The first time always felt awkward, but after that it just started to feel normal. Mew flashed a sly grin, fully confident. He couldn't wait for the next round, already thinking about the deal they made. Nobody could tell if actually won or just got super lucky with some messed up curse. Either way, it was straight up shameless. Everyone thought he was a scumbag after that, and nobody wanted to trade with him anymore. Watched as she walked away, holding back his thoughts. He knew this wasn't over. Next time he was determined to get all 10 touches. No way was slipping past him again. His face turned bright red. Even knowing this so-called god was a straight-up creep, he couldn't help the embarrassment. Right then, Ting froze up. God always said he never took an L, but now it was $120,000 on the table, even after the discount. That was just cash for some gear. Jay didn't even blink, he just handed over the money. Ting was tripping, thinking there had to be more to it. Had her pressed up against a tree, not giving her any space. He just stared like he knew she was thinking about that whole leg touch promise. It was like he decided, alright, let's see this through, no more playing around. Started freaking out inside, her mind racing, trying to figure out what was happening. She definitely wasn't expecting things to go like this. He started wondering if the promise was getting tossed out the window. Mew let out a big sigh, giving in. He just decided to roll with it, not even bothering to argue anymore. He figured he'd just take the hit this time, almost like he was doing the other dude a solid. Leaned in, keeping his voice low, just checking if that was actually alright. Let him know that things with Mad God were already tense, and honestly, helping out here was just extra for him. People started asking themselves what was up with God. How did he score all that loot right from the jump? He was just playing solo and even ticked off Mad God's crew earlier, so some figured maybe they'd back him up if things got rough later on. Mew pulled up to the village chief's place, ready to turn in the quest. The chief thanked him and explained that with Mew's dried blood, they could finally get rid of the demon energy haunting. But things weren't looking great. Tons of villagers got hurt from monster attacks, and now they were almost out of bandages. Mew started getting annoyed. He was over all the talking, dude just needed some bandages, nothing more. Right then, realized he still had 400 leftover potential points from leveling up. He took them all out with one magic blast. He was already way ahead on EXP and gold compared to the new guys. God just felt unstoppable, like he was breaking the game. He shut his brain off and got straight to farming, ready to widen the gap even more. Demon mummies pulled up, but he wasn't sweating it, they were light work. Out of nowhere, he remembered he left something important behind. He nearly walked off before remembering to grab some cash from this sneaky old dude. No way he was leaving easy money on the table, only clowns pass up free cash. He flopped onto the ground like he was in a drama, acting like saving totally wrecked him inside. He started talking about how even the sky gets old and people don't last long. He pointed at her hairpin, saying he'd handle giving it back for her. The village chief heard what was said and honestly thought it was deep. He looked at the warrior, staying calm, almost like he had it all figured out. He knew things were about to get wild, but promised himself he'd have the warriors back the whole way. God just unlocked the village chief's blessing. Now he's rocking a 10% boost to crit rate, moves 10% faster, gets 10 extra HP back every second, ignores 50 defense, and yeah, even gets a little buff to his charm stat. This is the actual secret bonus for Demon Mode Wa. The chief's permanent boost is basically his ace up the sleeve. The other players started following what he did, all hoping for some luck too. Before heading out, Sumu threw some shade his way. He thought the others were clueless. The old man was ready to jump into the grind, already calling dibs on the first kill of the night. Pulled up to the quest zone and instantly noticed his HP was melting, losing 5 points every second. Healing items, yeah, those were useless here. Most players barely made it half a minute before getting wiped. He had to keep chugging purification potions just to survive, and each one burned through 500 gold. If he wanted to stay alive, there was really no choice. He had to keep buying them, which felt like the game was pushing everyone into pay-to-win mode. Honestly, the village chief's blessing was way better. It gave him 10 HP back every second, so he was actually gaining 5 extra HP on top of what he lost. Suddenly, he heard people yelling up ahead. He took off, running as fast as he could. Whatever that thing was, it was closing in quick, so he knew he had to move or it'd catch him for sure. Before she could even react, some quick moves had her completely wrapped up in bandages. She didn't even get a chance to make a sound. She got pulled back fast and the guy just dipped, running for his life. He called out for help, hoping someone would have his back. Out of nowhere, a spike made out of bandages shot right through him. He got pulled back too. Mew squinted, locking in on the monster. It was a level 5 high attack and could hit from way out, basically a nightmare for anyone just starting out. Now it made total sense why those two got wiped out so quick. The demon mummies moved pretty slow. He figured he could work with that. Had this wild ability, he could literally throw fireballs. Honestly, anyone going up against him should probably rethink their choices. That mummy got toasted on the spot, looking like a burnt zombie snack. That didn't bother any of them. They closed in around Mew, ready to go. Mew just smirked, thinking this was perfect, easy targets showing up right when he needed them. Free quest loot handed to him on a silver platter. He thought back to that deadwood forest in the swamp. It seemed like the perfect spot to handle these guys. Mew took off, leading the mummies straight into the creepy, dried-up woods by the dead marsh. He didn't waste any time, just hopped over the river in a couple quick jumps. He suddenly charged from the other side of the river. It was like he was calling the other guy out, almost daring him to step up. But the other guy just stood there, not moving at all, almost like he was too nervous to make a move. The mummies straight up lost it when they got messed with. They launched their bandages straight at. Mew moved fast, slipping past every attack like he'd done it 100 times before. These mummies were definitely annoying, but honestly it didn't matter. He'd been through way worse. He knew exactly what he was doing. Right after that, he scooped up every single bandage and held them tight in his hands. He sprinted straight through the deadwood, not even slowing down. The mummies didn't notice anything off until it was way too late. Every single one of them ended up stuck in the middle of the swamp, totally trapped. Turns out Sumu had this all planned. He wasn't just running around for no reason. He started charging up a huge fireball, ready to blast them all. Only the newbies who had no clue would end up getting wrecked and rolling around on the ground. Out of nowhere, the system dropped a bounty alert. The blacksmith had finally had enough and put a price on anyone who even laid a finger on his wife's legs. If you touched her at all, you were officially on his hit list. Mew couldn't help hyping himself up in his head. He looked around and just saw a bunch of sketchy dudes. Honestly, he figured he was the only decent guy in the whole place. This bounty was honestly made for him, taking out 100 weak dudes. With how low-level these rookies are, it was basically free XP. Once he wrapped up the demon mummies, he'd just swing by and rack up that 100 kill streak, no sweat. Helping the kid out and getting paid couldn't get easier. A wave of fire dropped out of nowhere. The demon mummies got roasted instantly, like someone just cranked the heat and they had no chance. He even scored a skill book from the drop. It wasn't something he could use, but selling it would easily bring in a couple thousand gold. Out of nowhere, some random guy showed up, looking like he didn't belong at all. Before anyone could even react, he got taken out on the spot. He jumped straight into world chat, ready to vent about how rough things just went for him. Madman War God pulled his crew together, acting all cocky. He called out the others for blaming the game instead of owning up. When it came to beating tough levels, he basically said everyone still had to rely on him. The guys who ride with Madman get ready to roll out with him straight into the mummy zone. From a distance, other players checked them out, honestly impressed. Madman stood out big time, almost like he owned the place. Their names even lined up, so everyone figured they were getting ready to start a guild. That white glow, pure flex, clearly the purification potion and not cheap stuff either. People could tell they had money. Once guilds dropped at level 10, these two would be the first to set one up. Everyone else just wanted to grind levels and maybe squad up with them down the line. Everyone thought these guys were just a bunch of broke nobodies. They were ready to show everyone how real maniacs handle a quest, but what he didn't see coming was that things were about to get way worse for him. He saw the target and gave the signal for everyone to close in. Out of nowhere, the demon mummy got wiped out by just one fireball. Madman War God just froze for a second. Was that really a mage tossing out fireballs and still standing? He couldn't believe some glass cannon mage had managed to get this far. Instantly, he started wondering if there was some big spender dropping cash on the server again. Flames started dropping from above, so everyone had to stay alert. Right after that, the maniacs started strutting around like they owned the place. But when things got real, they freaked out and ran everywhere like a bunch of chickens. They sprinted down the hallway, yelling for someone to come help. In seconds, a lot of them were gone. In just a few minutes, Mew's quest bar shot up to 15%. He was just trying to chill and get some farming done, but these guys kept showing up and basically handing him free kills. With his E-skill Frost Dance, he just had the perfect setup going. With the next mummy wave on, Mew had some time to kill, so he started scrolling through his stash. He had over 100 pieces of gear stacked up, plus a dozen skill books. Looked like another solid haul. It was obvious his buyer would be the guy with the longest legs around. There might be some extra perks in it for him. He started thinking maybe Juan was hyped for this too. Leaned back, arms over his head, not even close to hitting the 100 kills he needed. He started thinking maybe the maniac gang would show up again and save him some effort, rolling through with a few more waves. He grabbed a mage skill book called Wind Shadow, and suddenly his speed shot up by 30%. Picked it up right then and there, no second guessing. He hit level 6, then logged off to grab dinner. That first clear in the dungeon was still up for grabs. Somewhere else in the foggy swamp, a bunch of mummies were just laid out on the ground. A girl in the group decided she'd collected all the quest items she needed and was ready to dip out of the party. He watched her about to leave and really didn't want her to go. Grinding EXP together just hit different. He thought teaming up with her was actually smart. When guys and girls work together, the game just gets easier. Yeah, that's right, her heals pretty much bylate them out. Without those, they would had zero shot against these mummies. The mummies just stood there, not showing any emotion at all. Most guys acted pretty lame, but he wasn't like that at all. 13 figured he should give it a shot and try to convince her. He thought she'd be a good fit, so he threw out an invite, letting her know he was about to start a guild and wanted her on the team as vice leader. Out of nowhere, you just charge at them like a wild cow. Turns out some fresh mummies just popped up again. Dead Song started sweating, totally thrown off. He couldn't figure out what just happened. He didn't even pick up on anything, but somehow she did. They were supposed to be on the same team, so why did her attack actually hurt him? Nothing about it made sense. Shot the guy a nasty look. This dude couldn't even keep track of where the monsters were. He still thought he had what it takes to lead the guild. Remembered he only got hurt because he was one of the jerks messing with the pharmacist. He knew he had to move fast. There was no time to chill. He needed to level up quick and then track this guy down. As she walked off, a couple of guys started grinning. They looked over at the boss, clearly thinking about stepping in to show her how a real man acts. While all this was going down, the maniac gang was losing it over Mew. They kept getting wiped out in huge numbers without even getting a glimpse of the guy. So they started roasting him in the world chat, calling him a turtle and a coward, trying to bait him into a fight in the mist forest. People online started buzzing. A megaphone wasn't cheap, 100 gold down the drain just like that. Everyone wanted to know who this guy hanging out with God was, and why Madman War God was dropping stacks just to roast him in front of everyone. Madman War God watched Sue moving around without saying a word. He held back his rage, feeling straight up embarrassed by the team wipe. There had to be some weird swamp trick they missed. Madman War God made up his mind. When Sue finally showed up, he was gonna hunt him down at least 10 times, no cap. It stung getting wiped out for literally nothing, so he wanted answers from Sue. Grinding in the game was whatever, but it bugged him that this dude with God powers could just drop people whenever he felt like it. Right then spoke up. Everyone called him the Madman War God. If you really wanted to prove yourself, you had to step inside and face him. Just hanging around outside yelling made you look weak. Everyone was confused about why these girls were backing him up. Because of him, they lost levels and couldn't keep up anymore. They just couldn't figure out why Ting was standing up for that guy, especially with God on his side. Mew had just hooked her up with a crazy amount of gear to trade. She knew she had to keep that safe. No way she was letting anyone mess with her investment. With all that new stuff, her guild was ready to level up and take the lead. Anyone who had a problem could pull up and see what happened. Madman War God was just standing there, fuming but stuck. He couldn't do anything about it, even though he wanted to. He looked at God and just thought how weak he was acting, needing someone else, especially a woman, to save him. Madman War God couldn't believe God wouldn't step up and handle things himself. His grandma watched him, shaking her head as he started making noise again, like she wasn't even surprised. Just another day with her grandson acting up. He wasn't buying any talk about God. If someone was bold enough to walk out now, they better be ready to face the worst. Mew snapped his fingers, and suddenly his character stats popped up for everyone to check out. Everyone who was yelling before just stopped dead. Dude's a level 7 mage, like where did this guy even come from? And he's flexing with a purple weapon that boosts focus and spell crit too. His buff is something called Village Chief's Blessing, whatever that means, but it's wild. His gear, his level, that crazy buff, he's basically on another planet compared to everyone else. Somebody's ready to hit report because this just doesn't add up. Madman War God got absolutely wrecked. The new god wasn't even playing the same game as everyone else. Dude was on another level. Nobody had a clue how they were supposed to even stand a chance against that. Moo's eyes got serious. He was ready, like the wild grandson wasn't the only one going all in. Grandpa just pulled up. Madman War God tried to keep it together and not bail, but he just couldn't get any words out. He finally lost it and called out the guy for taking out innocent players. He said if the dude let them get payback, they'd let it slide. If not, he needed to explain himself or they'd just keep spawn camping him until he couldn't even leave the starting area. No matter how tough was, he knew they had way more people on their side, like there were dozens of them and numbers always matter. Scratched his ear, acting like he didn't care. He thought it wasn't his problem since the others were messing around with the pharmacist and got themselves in trouble. He figured they brought that bounty on themselves without even realizing it. People around started whispering to each other, checking out the group. Word had gotten around that these were the guys who messed with the pharmacist. Everyone just looked at them with straight-up disgust, thinking the world might be better off without people like that. Madman War God's face went bright red and he just froze up. He couldn't get any words out, totally caught off guard. Everyone could tell he was trying to deny it, but it was obvious he was rattled. Stared him down, not backing off even a little after getting embarrassed in front of the girl he liked. He wasn't about to let things slide or walk away quietly. If this guy wanted a fight, was basically ready, hands clenched and waiting for something to pop off. Right then, let him know that some people were planning to jump him. Said they'd back him up this time, kind of like a thank you for hooking them up with those items earlier. Mew didn't even hesitate, he shut her down right away. He basically told her to hold on to that favor for later and to move her crew somewhere safer. He was ready to handle these weak enemies himself and show them what's up. When both sides are just as strong, that's when the number of people really counts. Watched what was happening and started thinking if God was actually just super cocky or if he could really back it up. He decided to just chill and see how things played out. Locked in and went straight on offense, launching a fireball without holding back. Madman War God called everyone to get ready, telling the warriors to raise their shields and be prepared. In the next moment, every single one of his fireballs got shut down. Mages and archers were everywhere, launching attacks. It honestly felt like everyone showed up just to watch him get wrecked. As soon as the command dropped, all the guys jumped in and started going at it. Slipped out of the way like it was nothing. Honestly, he thought the Madman gang didn't have much going for them. Madman War God just spammed everything at once, blowing all his moves and getting stuck on, basically asking to get clapped right after. Darted behind a huge tree before anyone even realized he was gone. With so many people around, he figured OE's crowd control would come in clutch, and if that special effect kicked in, that'd just make things even smoother. Everyone in the public chat kept staring at Sumu's title. It was hard to read something about being fast, maybe it said fastest man. Either way, it was kind of awkward. Still, nobody could deny the guy really was quick. Mu didn't even care about the noise going on around him. For him, these dudes were just what he needed to try out his new move. Out of nowhere, a blast of blue energy rushed straight at them. Before anyone could make a move, the whole squad got iced, literally turned into statues on the spot. The place went wild. Warriors tried to throw up shields, thinking they were about to get clapped by the cold. Healers scrambled, spamming heals like their lives depended on it. The boss called out the bad timing. Shields were still on, and healers were burning through everything just to keep the HP bars from dropping to zero. Someone just threw up a shield without thinking, and that set off the war god. Dude went off. Almost everyone was already gone anyway, so what was the point of the shield? He said sorry out loud, but in his head he was just trash-talking it. Even if using a shield made sense, he really didn't want to be the next one out. Mew couldn't take it either. The dude was straight up scared. That shield didn't do anything. He just had to hold out a little longer, then Mew would drop a huge fireball and end it. He started the countdown, getting ready for something wild. Out of nowhere, a grandkid was about to pop up. The Madman gang just stopped dead, totally stunned. His yellow hair stood out as his eyes went wide, like he just saw something wild. Fireballs started dropping from the sky, smashing everything in their path. The team was pretty much done for. Even the shields from the warriors and warlocks got roasted instantly. Nothing was left, everything just got wiped out. He finally got his body moving again, grabbed a healing potion and downed it fast. He was barely hanging on. He mentally told the boss to handle things from here. The damage from this guy was wild, just unreal. He started thinking, no way this dude didn't even use a swamp bug before. Mad God of War knew what was up. When the crowd dipped, he didn't hesitate. He was out of there too, but had his eyes glued to him, tracking every move. Mad God of War was putting on a brave face earlier, but now he was scrambling, trying to keep his distance. Deep down, he was falling apart. The healers were gone and those red potions useless now. He just couldn't wrap his head around it. One dude took out his whole 30-man squad like it was nothing. Now he was locked in and ready to put everything on the line. He pulled out his first move, Gale Slash. Already knew the drill though, he'd have to wait a full 40 seconds before he could use it again. So for the next 40 seconds, Mad God of War was stuck just throwing out basic hits. All he could do was try to back off, but honestly the match was already done. Grandpa stood off to the side watching his grandson try to catch up. The kid was moving way too slow for him, and Grandpa couldn't help but mess with him a little. Mad God of War swung and missed, and Sumu just got louder with the trash talk. He kept egging him on, acting like Mad God of War was slipping big time. Mad God of War just lost it. He couldn't believe how fast this mage was moving. He completely lost it. His reset and he just let out this wild roar. He could see the other guy slowing down like he was almost ready to give up. Staying chill just went in with his Gale Slash while the other dude barely had time to react. By the time anyone realized what was happening, it was already over. Glanced over, kind of teasing like he was daring him to check his HP first. Right then, a small fireball shot out. Mad God of War just stood there, not moving at all. His health bar dropped straight to zero. Right before it all went black, he honestly didn't care anymore. He was totally over the game and ready to let everything crash and burn. Sumu flashed a quick cocky grin. He acted like his move was an accident, but honestly he just went a little harder than planned. Deep down, he was enjoying the fight and wasn't ready for it to end anytime soon. Mad God of War almost lost it right there. His last yell felt like it reached the heavens. He wasn't about to let this slide. Girls in the crowd totally lost it, cheering like crazy and a few even trying to sign up as his students. The guys had to admit he was on another level. Some couldn't even stand straight after watching him. His whole outlook nearly fell apart. Seeing how strong God really was had him questioning everything. Right then, a worldwide message went out. Player Wood God just finished the blacksmith's bounty and scored some kind of secret prize. All the other servers got the news too, and everyone started trying to figure out who this so-called God was. Dropping 100 kills, that's wild. Over on the Empire Mile server, from Team Z was bummed. He missed his target by just 20 kills. He hoped the guys in chat would drop some gifts to help him bounce back. Man, this dude's on another level. Even with all my pro esports experience, I can't keep up with him. Guess our Z squad isn't really top dog like we thought. Fisheye from the Sky Azure server was actually ahead of him. She'd already knocked out 90%. He honestly thought he'd be the first one to finish the global balance, but clearly she was way more locked in. County really didn't see it coming when someone even quicker showed up, made him wonder if God just pulled up or something. Right then Sumu let out a sneeze. He paused for a second, wondering if someone out there was talking about him. He brought up Missy's second PY deal too, curious if anything had changed since last time. Ting trailed after him into the woods, her face totally serious. She could already tell he was about to hit her with another random condition. He had mummy bandages, 1 white gear, a green gear, 51 blue gears, and 19 weight, no 10 white skill books. Even the water was stacked. No one really saw it coming that he'd been grinding this hard again. He checked the total 112610 gold. To make things easier, he rounded it up to 115,000. He asked Miss if she wanted a discount this time, and honestly he was already drooling at the thought. Brought up that weird request again and got nervous, stumbling over her words. She wasn't trying to get any special deal. 115000 was good with her. She already knew he'd react like that. Sumu let out a sigh. Too bad. He'd actually planned to hook him up with a surprise if he'd let him touch his thigh again. Warner blinked, caught off guard, pulled out a skill book and showed it off. He tossed out a price 10000 gold and hinted he might hook someone up with a deal if they were interested. Wander just stopped in his tracks. He was staring at a green warlock skill book. With his insane luck, this was unreal. Nobody was pulling green books these days. Could tell the guy wouldn't just drop the price for nothing. There had to be a catch. Leaned in and quietly told him he'd have to promise to let her touch his thigh 10 times later. He scored a solid deal with Miss and tossed in a quick tip just to keep things smooth. Green Bay woodland monsters aren't tough at all, but they drop a ton of XP. If you're trying to level up fast, hitting up in that spot is the move. Looked at him, kind of side-eyeing the whole situation, trying to figure out what was really going on and what this guy wanted from him. Noticed how sharp Sister was, and wondered if mentioning a hidden quest would get her to team up with him. Wander cleared her throat, not really interested in doing favors unless there was something in it for her. She heard something about a hidden quest and paused. Stuff like that usually came with surprises. It left her wondering why this person even knew about something the company itself kept under wraps. It was decided. He wanted his Earth sister to know she wasn't going to get left behind. He couldn't help but get more and more curious about God. For the first time, the two of them actually crossed paths, just barely making contact. Mad God of War stood at the respawn spot in Newbie Village, totally losing it at his crew. He couldn't believe how useless they'd been, blaming them for letting Would God take them all out by himself. He made it clear next time they run into that kid, they better take him down right away. His squad started freaking out, promising to get their act together. They swore they'd level up like crazy and make Would God regret messing with them. Out of nowhere, Mad God of War's screen lit up with a whisper. Someone had just slid into his DMs. He had no clue who was reaching out. Mad Dog Madman grabbed his crew and headed out to grind trance for the old man. He was locked in, no breaks unless he heard otherwise. Madman's snap was with God, but honestly he didn't care what that guy had to say. Mew didn't hold back. He basically threatened to hunt Madman down until he rage quit and deleted his account. Every time he'd get a kill, he'd flex with screenshots and blast it all over the forums. He let Madman know he was already on the way. Madman just sat there completely defeated, like he just got slapped with something nasty. He promised he'd do the task, but inside he was salty and just wanted to get it over with. Quietly he told himself he'd wait, level up, and then someday get his revenge outside the game. Realized just counting on and Madman wasn't gonna cut it. If he wanted that hidden dungeon open, every last had to be taken out. He spammed world chat with trumpets so everyone could jump in. Not long after, the three of them started hyping each other up out loud for everyone to see. Was totally on fire, like he could take on anything. His sister was always right there, having his back no matter what. Sumu glanced at his phone after what felt like forever and figured the timing was probably good now. He started second-guessing everything. Was this spot actually going to give him any rare loot? He'd been chilling here way too long. Glancing up at the branches, he remembered what that random pro from his last life had said about finding treasure under a tree that messes with your head. This had to be the place, right? But what if he'd been played? Was he just wasting his time alone out here in this empty, dead zone? Out of nowhere, something landed right on Sumu's face. He started shouting about how even the birds were dropping stuff, but he still hadn't gotten his gear. He felt like honest guys always got picked on, calling out the whole thing as a total scam over and over. Out of nowhere, a new quest showed up on the system. Everyone in the starter village had just 30 minutes to hold off the tree god's revenge. If they pulled it off, they'd score some kind of secret reward. But if they messed up, every single player would get hit with a 100,000 EXP loss. He thought the so-called secret master was just a scammer. If those guides ever popped up again, he swore he'd track the guy down and handle it himself. Global chat went wild. Everyone thought this quest was straight up impossible. They were all blaming the game, freaking out about losing 100k EXP, basically saying it was game over. Didn't even bother with the drama. He just made his way back to town, ready to log off, grab some food, and then jump back in later to grind the hidden mission. All chill, no stress. As soon as he jumped back into the game, he got swarmed from all sides. Seriously, this wasn't the kind of welcome he was hoping for. He kept thinking about why this tree god was out for revenge. None of it made sense. Plus, he was stressing that his squad wasn't high enough level to take another loss. He wondered if anyone in real life knew anything about this god's stuff, and honestly, he'd even throw some cash at someone to help him through. Everyone's already assuming they're gonna lose, but honestly, that's weak. If you looked at him right now, he's got this main character vibe, like he's actually built different. You can tell he believes in himself. Everyone started yawning. Time to grab some food before grinding. Gotta keep the energy up. Even the other players started noticing they were hungry, kind of weird. Maybe it was something about his vibe. Since that's what God said, they all decided to eat quick and jump back into the game. Out in the real world, everything was buzzing. Sat there biting into his burger while everyone nearby couldn't stop talking about the potion girl. Apparently her in-game moves were wild. He just tuned them out. He never cared about those NPC girls. They were just pointless side quests. What really mattered was that his new gaming pod was on the way. Once he logged back in, he planned to go straight for the tree god, snag the first kill, and level up his hand. Way more people started jumping into Apocalypse compared to what remembered before. That gave him some hope. Maybe this time, humanity actually had a shot at changing how things turn out. Out of nowhere, a really pretty girl started walking up to him. He couldn't believe it, Sumo was really standing right there. Everyone started acting different as soon as she showed up. She had this energy that got everyone looking, and honestly the potion girl just didn't stand a chance anymore. Everyone knew her as the school beauty from next door, way out of his league honestly. Still, seeing that dude actually out with the school goddess, wild. He couldn't help but wonder if the guy was better looking than him, or what made him the one she picked. Dropped into his seat thinking about what he'd heard, really just dipped out of the exam like it was nothing. Their homeroom teacher almost lost it, just chilled with his milk tea, not even bothered, giving a lazy nod. Figured that's just classic doing his own thing, never stressing. Sun Mu kept thinking about it. Since he and her weren't even that close, it was weird that she'd just walk up and start a conversation with him out of nowhere. Got invited to eat with some people, but he turned it down right away. He figured there was no point since they barely talked outside of class anyway. All he wanted was to head home fast and jump back into gaming. He finished his food, pushed his chair back, and got ready to dip. Without hanging around, he told he was heading out. Mew was out by Slake. Whoever was trying to reach him started to notice he wasn't really responding or paying attention, acting pretty distant. His friends came over, checking out the guy across the way. They couldn't believe someone just brushed her off like that. They started tossing around guesses, maybe actually like the dude. Then it clicked, he was that popular guy everyone at her school knew. The same dude who bilated on an exam just to grind on, the group couldn't believe was interested in some dude who was basically glued to his games. It was wild to see the top student and the school's chillest guy even in the same room. The friends kept poking fun, but one of them pointed out that was way more than just a regular game. Just got hit with sadness. Mew kept showing up in his life, it was like he couldn't escape her no matter what. Back in the day, he was always chill around her. He even remembered her birthday and made it something special. He wondered what was up, noticing the other guy was straight up dodging him now. Mew never dodged her on purpose. He still remembered from his last life that he wasn't supposed to play hero, but he also wasn't about to give up the safe zone like she did. Honestly, they just saw things differently and were on two separate paths. Hopped into his brand new gaming pod and right away, he was locked in. The thing just felt awesome. Totally worth it. Back when he lived before, he'd saved up for ages just to buy one. He spun the ring on his finger, knowing he had to keep moving forward and stay one step ahead of whatever life threw at him. As soon as he jumped online, the chat was going nuts. Everyone was hyping up the Tree God's Revenge event, saying there was barely a minute left before it kicked off. The official site had already posted that the tree spirits were level 5 and nobody thought they stood a chance. The tree god boss was level 10, which sounded impossible. Even the squad's top player, Wood God, was getting called out. Guys were saying he couldn't pull it off this time and that they were all basically done for. Just stood there not even knowing what to say. The guys around him were seriously loud, acting like they'd never been anywhere before. It was just a hidden quest, nothing wild, everyone needed to chill. He wasn't about to get worked up over it, losing a level would suck. So he figured if God said it could be done, he'd trust that and keep it moving. Had no clue that the real crew already had their eyes on him. Everyone around the globe was watching because a random kid from the N Nation was actually going for the world's first clear. People thought he was just daydreaming. Like, who did he think he was? Not even the top squad in his own country would step up to try this. Suddenly, the whole place started shaking. TNC's full-on realistic graphics were so intense that people started bailing. One dude just dipped, saying he couldn't handle it and needed a break until the chaos settled down. Right after, another guy was like, nope, not for me, and logged off too. Was caught off guard when the map boss quest suddenly brought NPCs into the action. This was totally new back in his last life. Nothing like this ever went down. Something just wasn't adding up. Just then, the village chief showed up with right behind him. The village had a group of young guys getting ready to throw down in tomorrow's fight. The chief held up the book and it started glowing gold. Instantly, everyone got a boost. Attack and crit stats went up by 10%, defense climbed by 20, and everyone scored an extra 100 HP. The whole squad was powered up for the next 30 minutes. When the guys heard the crazy loud roars coming from the woods, everyone started freaking out. They looked over and saw the tree spirits rolling in, and honestly there were way more than anyone expected. All the trees stared back with these blood-red eyes, looking straight up pissed like their anger levels were maxed out. The top player went all in, swinging his hammer hard. He was done messing around, and when he connected, the tree spirit just blew apart. The fight broke out right away, but the tree spirit had everything under control from the start. These new guys barely did any damage, their hits were so weak, it was like getting poked by a feather. Out of nowhere, a couple of vines shot out and grabbed them tight. The players totally freaked and started yelling, instantly regretting ever joining this cursed game. The whole battlefield was chaos, with people yelling non-stop all over the place. More tree spirits just kept showing up from the back. Before long, they all made it to the respawn spot. He stood there totally over it. He wasn't letting anyone get close now. The whole God has a plan thing, yeah, that was Cap. A few guys looked like they were about to break down. He couldn't believe this was it, his epic run in the game cut short by monsters camping his spawn. He was done logging out totally over it. Every time his short invincibility was up, those tree spirits just wrecked him again. The game felt unplayable. He couldn't help but wonder where the so-called God player was. If only that big talker would show up, he deserved a punch. Everyone watching from outside just froze. They started wondering if the monsters on this server had totally snapped. This quest is straight up nightmare fuel. He's honestly relieved their server doesn't have to deal with stuff like this. Village 818 is basically done for everyone about to lose their levels and start over at the bottom. There were so many tree spirits out there, it made sense why nobody could hold their ground. Even his own squad would have a tough time dealing with all that. Right as the guy was about to finish talking, he just stopped in his tracks. Fireballs start dropping out of the sky like it's some wild game, lighting everything up. The tree spirits got wiped out right away. He watched as the mage skill falling meteor fire dropped out of nowhere. The damage was wild, like seriously broken, seemed totally unfair, almost like someone was cheating. The tree spirits got hit with red-hot flames, then instantly froze up again. Anyone could tell Sumu was behind it. The players lost it right away. Was actually teamed up with God, no way. Everyone felt like their savior had finally shown up. It made sense, only God could pull off something like this. People started talking about how he used that exact skill before, back when he took down the Madman gang. Stayed chill, thinking he was planning to give him more time to train. He just let out a sigh, not making a big deal about it. So Mew figured he wasn't overdoing it, this was just the right amount to flex. After that, he got right back into hunting mode. Wherever Mew walked, the tree spirits just caught fire and burned out in seconds. Their hits barely left a mark on him, like he barely even noticed. The players finally got a break and went wild. Everyone started talking about how crazy would God Daddy's gear had to be. He was just destroying those tree spirits, making them run off like they stood no chance. His health bar wasn't even dropping, which just seemed unreal. Guys were hyped, realizing they could finally leave the respawn spot. The chat was full of people spamming thanks to Would God Daddy, some even joking they owed him big time. Mew spun around like he owned the place, and told him to quit zoning out and jump in the fight. The second started talking, everyone in the game just got hyped. The plan was simple, follow, rush the tree spirits and go full send. People were joking about how it was totally broken and nobody seemed worried. They figured the worst that could happen is a quick death and respawn. The warriors went straight in, mages and warlocks were chilling in the back, and archers climbed up to get the best spots. The assassins, though, couldn't help but feel left out. It was like nobody wanted them around, and they weren't cool with that at all. The crowd totally lost it. Watching this rookie squad crush the dungeon had everyone fired up. People started wondering who was rolling with God because the damage numbers were just nuts 666 for real. It looked like these guys were about to blow up and clear the whole thing. The hype was unreal. Folks started rushing to log in and try to snag some loot before it was all gone, telling their friends to get online fast and grind those tree spirits too. When and her crew respawned, they could tell right away something wasn't right. The spot was totally empty, no tree spirits anywhere. Figured had probably wiped them out. Out of nowhere, this fired-up teenager sprinted by, yelling for everyone to follow him if they wanted a shot at some real rewards. The girl in the purple robe just stood there. She was a mage too, but watching him, she realized how far behind she was. She wondered if anyone even noticed her, and honestly, she had no clue what to do next. To make things worse, everyone just lost a bunch of EXP. Took charge and pushed everyone ahead, ready to hunt down tree spirits and grind some EXP back. God took charge again, so everyone started getting set. The warlocks jumped in to power up the squad. Everyone jumped right into action. The shield guys put up their barriers while the buffers cranked up everyone's attack power. Just then showed up with her crew all ready to jump in. The warlocks wanted in on the action too, asking to roll with the main squad, told her unit to move out and link up. The mages and archers started getting into position, waiting for the sign to go all out. Everyone was dialed in, ready to launch their attacks as far as they could the second they got the signal. The weaker players always grouped up, making sure nobody got for no reason. Warriors pushed straight into the mess, totally zoned in, while assassins finished off anyone barely hanging on. His whole plan was set up perfectly, no confusion at all. Nobody outside could really process what they were seeing. One dude was playing so well, it actually got the other players fired up enough to push back. Nobody could believe what just happened. This random dude just pulled off something wild at the respawn spot earlier, and honestly, that was the game changer. People started buzzing. Could 818 Novice Village actually finish this quest? It felt unreal. Mad God of War was just chilling, watching everything go down from the sidelines, and suddenly just stopped in his tracks. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Was this really about to flip the script? He knew he had to hit up the boys online ASAP. If he waited, everything that happened would have been pointless. Each traitor knocked out meant a solid 100 EXP, and even just helping out got you 20. He needed everyone online, stacking up points and grabbing as much as they could. In his head, he was already plotting like some kind of strategy pro. At Wing Nation's VSV District Research Center, someone heard about Tree God's revenge. He barely reacted, thinking it sounded pretty weak, not scary at all. Johnson checked out the numbers coming in from Nation's Skyblue 818 Village. He told the squad it was time to take out and set off Tree God's revenge. Johnson looked at the guy and pointed out that the quest was way out of their league. They were just level 3, nothing special, so there was no way they'd win. That player was on another planet, honestly. However he pulled it off, the dude's power was just straight up wild. The commander stared him down, totally not buying what he was hearing. Johnson just stood there and admitted it. He knew the team needed a couple more days to train. Maybe then they could have actually pulled it off, but right now there was just no way they were getting past it. When he heard that, the commander's face went straight up cold, almost scary. He didn't waste any time. He demanded they start up Tree God's vengeance immediately. If they didn't get moving, he made it clear he'd swap out his without a second thought. Right when everyone was sure the fight was over and they'd pulled off the win, a loud roar came out of nowhere, making everyone jump. Mew instantly realized the boss just pulled up. Deep in the woods, huge tree branches started reaching out everywhere. Then the level 10 corrupted tree god showed up, ready to drain humans for power. The thing let out another angry roar. A branch swung hard and people went flying everywhere. The monster's other branchy arm came crashing down, aiming right at his squad. The giant palm kept coming at her, getting bigger every second. Just froze up, her mind totally blank. She figured this was it for her and didn't even try to move. When the tree god slammed both hands down, the ground just blew up, rocks and dirt flying everywhere. Right then, Mew grabbed Ting and pulled him away, but it was nothing fancy, definitely not some princess-style move. Gave him a quick thanks, thinking back on what God said about staying alert. He noticed right away that the tree gods seemed locked in on him with their attacks. He wondered if it was because he'd come back to life as a player. All the players weren't hitting that hard, but they just kept spamming every single skill they had right at the tree god. This tree god stats were just wild 30000 HP right off the bat. On top of that, it had some busted skills like control skill bind and recovery skill regenerate. He couldn't figure out how anyone was supposed to beat something like this. If the crazy attack power and crits weren't enough, that vine whip move could wipe out a squad in seconds. The popped back up even angrier than before. He stared at the invincible wood god, trying to come up with something fast. Ting was looking at him too, wondering if he had any kind of plan. God was calm, totally unfazed. He told everyone not to freak out and just deal with the easy stuff like they did last time. He'd handle whatever big threat showed up. Nodded, basically claiming this part of the battlefield as his own and telling the other person to watch out. The way they talked honestly felt like classic in-game couple energy. She jumped into action, telling everyone to chill and get organized by class, no time to waste. Warriors and assassins stuck with, and while mages and archers moved out with, and Little Bunny. The warlocks set up with her, ready to go. Trance kept an eye on enemies coming from the 10 and 1 o'clock angles, while the warriors moved up to hold them back. The remote guys all aimed their attacks at the 3 o'clock side, locking in their focus. Warlocks fanned out to cover everyone with heals. The tree god lord was on another level, way too tough. Trance knew he had to keep the little mobs busy for wood god, holding them off as long as possible. What god kept nodding, like he already knew she was built for this. She was starting to show everyone she had what it takes to hold down a whole safe zone one day. The tree god let out another roar, and suddenly a ton of branches shot straight at him. God still couldn't figure it out. He kept wondering why the tree god was always after him. This boss could tank a ton of hits and heal up fast, but he had already figured out the trick to taking it down. It used to be the main ruler in Green Bay Forest back when it actually helped people out. Now though, it's the reason everything's getting wrecked by demons. Gaining power always comes with some guilt hanging over him. Deep down, his heart is what holds him back. If God really wanted to go all out, he'd just drop a fireball and bam, minus 600 game over. Everyone else was barely scratching it, their hits barely did anything. But even with all his power, God could tell it wasn't enough. He'd have to spam like 50 fireballs just to get the job done. This boss had way too much HP. But now, with all that guilt messing him up inside, every hit he took just stuck. No amount of revives could fix the damage anymore. He knew as long as he dodged, he could slowly take down the boss by himself. But he also had to make sure the tree god didn't mess up setup. So he started pulling the boss away from the group, leaving that side for to handle. Had this look on his face like things might go sideways. He sent some warlocks over to the respawn spot, trying to keep the team solid. The whole time he kept the heals and buffs coming nonstop. With the tree gods going all out, was basically dodging like he was on a dance show. He only managed to keep up because the village chief had his back and the fastest guy around gave him a speed boost. Otherwise, there's no way he'd survive this nonstop attack. The fresh vines weren't nearly as tough, and every single one was linked straight to the tree god's core. It was the perfect chance to torch everything. Kicked in and the tree god couldn't handle it, had him totally locked down. Dropped down hard, launching fireballs everywhere and lighting up its whole body. Right then, Frost Petal Waltz kicked in and straight up froze its legs, locking it in place like a massive torch tree that couldn't move at all. Just smirked, kind of proud of himself, waiting to see if anyone else was impressed with his whole ice and fire move. Screw saw that its HP had already dropped to a third of the bar. If things kept going this way, would only need a couple more minutes to finish it off. Only 2 minutes left, everyone's holding their spot trying to keep things tight. The squad pulls together, getting ready to push forward one more time. Nobody wants to let a single ad slip through. The guys are all in, charging ahead, knowing the rewards are just around the corner. They keep fighting, and even if someone goes down, they just respawn and jump right back into the action. Right then, Frost Petal Waltz kicked in and locked everything down with ice. Mew knew it was time to finish things, so he lined up his shot and dropped a mega fireball. The tree god blew apart, chunks flying everywhere while its angry roar hung in the air. It was clearly not down with what these humans just did. They started breaking up and moving away, showing that they were all connected to the tree god. When something happened to the tree god, it was like it happened to them too. While all this was happening, the system let everyone know that the player with just pulled off the world's first revenge for the tree god. He scored the global first kill chest, so yeah, he basically made history right there. Everyone in Starter Village 818 just pulled off a big win. They held it down against the tree god's revenge and kept their village safe. Now every player gets 200 extra potential, 10,000 gold, and a massive 100,000 EXP level ups incoming. They actually did it. The win was real and everyone could barely believe it. It was wild, almost unreal. Never thought Mew would go all the way and make it happen. News about the update spread everywhere. People couldn't believe someone actually pulled off the global first kill. That was wild. Suddenly everyone got 200 potential points dropped on them, like getting 2 free level ups out of nowhere. On top of that, 10,000 gold landed in everyone's account. That's some serious money, like hitting a gaming jackpot. Online forums went wild. Guys were upset they didn't start out in the village, saying it's the same game but they missed out, and honestly everyone just seemed jealous. Mew scrolled through his rewards, checking out what he got from the tree god's essence. Now, he finally had all the stuff he needed to power up the Reaper's hand bone. He checked his stats and saw he was already at level 9. Nobody really knew what was up with the Reaper's hand bone, but everyone could tell it was hiding something big. He knew there was just one thing left to do, so he turned it on to see what would happen. Right then, the Reaper's hand bone kicked in. Purple energy started spreading over the bones, moving out in circles that kind of looked like waves. Out of nowhere, Mew froze up, his whole body just stopped working. He was completely thrown off. And the guys noticed a heavy wind rolling in out of nowhere. Everyone started looking around, confused about why the weather was freaking out like this. They all thought the hidden quest was done, but now it felt like things were about to get even crazier. Off in the distance near Green Bay Woods, they spotted something weird moving through the trees. It was fog, but not the normal kind. This stuff looked dark and messed up, like some demonic haze was spreading. Froze, sweat running down her face. She told everyone to check their buffs and asked if anyone had Reaper's gaze showing up. If the Reaper locks eyes on you, your whole body just freezes up. Those death eyes, don't even try to stare back. It's like when you look into something that dark, it just stares right back into you. He tried to move, but nothing happened. It felt like he was glitched out or something. No matter what he did, he couldn't get unstuck. He thought about logging out, but even that wasn't working. He tried to stay calm, noticing everything around him just stayed exactly the same. Nothing, not even the sun, was moving. The wind wouldn't let up, just howling non-stop. Out of nowhere, someone started yelling, freaking out about something they saw. He couldn't see a thing and his health just kept dropping. He realized he couldn't use any skills or even chug a potion. All he could do was watch his HP bar drain out. When his health finally bottomed out, he didn't respawn like usual. The whole situation had everyone's hearts racing, not knowing what would happen next. When saw what happened, he realized that when someone's HP hits 0, they don't actually die, they just can't see anything. He figured everyone should chill and hang tight. Their server just snagged the world's first kill, so maybe they are tweaking some stuff right now. He started thinking if God was even paying attention to him at this point. He wondered if he accidentally set off something new, and if that meant he was actually in trouble now. Sumu was totally caught off guard. He couldn't believe what was happening. This Reaper's gaze was on another level. Right then, his activation meter ticked up to 15%. Out of nowhere, the sky tore apart with 2 huge red streaks, almost looking like giant eyes staring down. From every angle, those eyes were just straight up blood red. Sumu froze. No way, that had to be the Reaper. He knew he wasn't seeing things. None of this added up. From what he remembered, the Reaper was supposed to show up only when the apocalypse kicked off, acting as the boss in the toughest dungeon out there, the Reaper's Temple. As far as he knew, nobody had ever managed to beat that place. Now that the apocalypse had started, the Reaper had finally pulled up too. He wondered if using the Reaper's hand bone made the Reaper show up sooner than expected. He knew pretty much everything about apocalypse, but when it came to the Reaper, he was lost. In his last life, he couldn't even get near the Reaper's temple, let alone step inside. He was done for. That voice, yeah, he knew it instantly. No way he could forget the Reaper's voice. It was the same chilling sound he heard right before everything ended for him last time. Out of nowhere, a weird, creepy laugh just rang out above them. He couldn't believe it. The Reaper was actually standing right in front of him. Was this really happening? The thought hit him hard. Was he about to die all over again, even though he'd just gotten another shot at life? He barely started this game, and already things were going sideways. No matter how much he tried, he just couldn't shake loose from whatever was holding him down. Everything faded out. Darkness took over. The gods got wiped out. Now the Reaper runs the show up in the heavens. The Reaper showed up and gave the young mage an offer he couldn't ignore. If the mage wanted to survive, all he had to do was join the Reaper's temple. In return, the Reaper promised to help him become the top death mage out there. Suddenly, it's like the whole apocalypse gave him a boost. The Reaper sent out a wild invite, join up at the Reaper's temple and run things as the top death mage. Right then, every single stat just shot up by 9,999. When Sumu heard that, his whole body tensed up. Becoming a god just like that sounded way over the top. Was this some kind of prank, the Reaper showing up to invite him, Grand Magus of Death? Since when did Apocalypse even have secret classes like that? These numbers were off the charts. Sumu couldn't figure out why the Reaper picked him. Was there something special about him? Was he about to drop a 9,999,999 damage move and just max out his whole life? Maybe his cheat mode finally kicked in, or he got some secret main character perks. Could it really be because he looked this good? Right then, Sumu just knew he was the main guy in this story. The system popped up with two choices for him. First, he could join the Reaper's temple and become the first Grand Magus of Death. But if he did, everyone would see him as a traitor, both the humans and the temple. All the reputation he'd built up would be gone, and the temple would actually dock him a point. Every warrior out there would turn against him, and he'd basically be stuck in the shadows for good. The second choice, say no to the Reaper and get smoked on the spot. He'd lose everything, gear, items, all of it, and his level would get wiped out straight back to zero. Just sat there totally spaced out. It felt like he'd been handed a crazy op cheat, but both options were basically a trap. The first one sounded awesome, but it meant going up against literally everyone. The second, he'd get wiped out right away and lose it all. Mew finally got his first kill reward, plus that legendary evil dragon armor he'd been grinding for forever. He knew this was a one-time shot, no do-overs. In his head he was totally stuck, not sure how to handle what just happened. The Reaper wasn't messing around, he looked ready to end things if the kid froze up. The young mage could tell he had to decide fast. Froze up for a second, clearly stressing out. He needed a minute to think things through. He was seriously debating if he should just ditch everyone and go full villain mode. In his head he was like, there's no chance. He figured if he could just buy some time, the Reaper's hand bone meter might actually hit 100%. As the progress bar crept up to 95%, the Reaper jumped back in and told him it was time to decide. There was no escape, so Sumu just got ready for whatever was coming. He made up his mind to say what he picked. This second shot at life honestly felt like one mess after another. Sumu's eyes snapped open wide, like he just finally made up his mind about something tough. He suddenly raised his voice and made it clear he wasn't going along with it. The Reaper was straight up pissed. To him, this guy was nothing, just some clueless bug thinking he could mess with a big deal like him. All over some weak idea of hope, he really thought he could just say no to the Reaper's offer. Wasn't even a little scared. An ant, big deal, even small stuff can dream big. Even if life's tough, he wasn't about to back down. There was no way he'd ever give in to the one he hated most. The Reaper lifted his scythe, ready to finish things. Didn't back down for a second. For him, getting taken out wasn't half as bad as getting disrespected. He was basically daring the Reaper to do it, not caring about fate or whatever. Even if he got dropped, he figured he'd just hit reset and pop back up in 3 seconds, no problem. Right when it mattered most, a streak of gold ripped through the sky, lighting everything up for a second. The Reaper's scythe broke apart right away. Just freezes up, he can't believe what he's seeing. Inside the glow, a voice came out calling out the Reaper for stepping over the line and trying to kill someone. It was clear. Whoever was guarding the Temple of Light wasn't about to let it slide, and they wanted the Reaper to know this place wasn't just some empty spot you could mess with. The Reaper spotted who just showed up. It was Michael, the Archangel with 6 wings. He already knew Michael's whole vibe and challenged him in his head, wondering if Michael really thought he could step in and keep the guy safe. Out of nowhere, an angel with 6 wings dropped down from the sky. Everyone knew that face. Michael, the guy running the whole angel legion for the temple. Michael swung his fist up at the sky, basically telling whatever was up there to get lost and not come back. The golden shock wave slammed right into the Reaper's projection, and the whole place just blew up with a crazy loud boom. The Reaper started to disappear, laughing as he went. He said he was cursed and would end up at the Reaper's temple sooner or later. Then he dropped a warning for Michael, making it clear that when his real form shows up, none of Michael's angel squad is getting out. So Mew just stood there, totally blown away. Now he gets why the top commander of the Angel Legion is no joke. One move and the Reaper's shadow was wiped out just like that. In Apocalypse, the temple stands at the heart of one of the main divine squads, and the Angel Legion basically runs the show when it comes to fighting power. The Reaper's temple basically runs the whole demonic faction. Mew just triggered a Reaper handbone, and that move didn't just get the Reaper's attention. Michael actually pulled up too. He made the right call. When Sun Mew heard that, he noticed he could actually move again. Meeting Lord Michael was wild. He'd never run into an NPC this strong in his old game life. The Reaper's handbone finished powering up, and he got nervous it might blow his cover in front of Michael. Luckily, nothing happened and he stayed under the radar. Michael watched him and thought his choice was actually solid. If he could finish this trial, the temple would seriously respect him, and Michael was ready to hook him up with the temple mage title. A legendary quest just dropped, Michael's trial. The goal, take out 10,000 monsters all above level 10. But that's not all. He's got to find and beat the start of our god and then finish off the corrupted giant. Knock this out and he'll unlock the next stage, Michael's Trial 2 Temple Mage. This is where things start getting real. Mew couldn't believe what just happened. This title was actually insane. It was easily one of the best out there. With just this title alone, he could finally take on the temple's hidden quests. Didn't waste any time, he let Michael know he was ready for the challenge. Michael reached into his stuff and pulled out a necklace, handling it carefully. He explained that he'd won this necklace off some demons and was now passing it on too. The message was clear: crush this trial and meet up with him again at the temple. Just froze. Right in front of him was the evil dragon necklace. No way. If he could clean it up, it was his to use. The thing was literally made from the dragon's real bones. He hoped this would unlock a new level of strength for him, like leveling up in a game. If the world was ending, he wanted that energy on his side. Michael just shot up and disappeared into the clouds. Sumu started shaking all over, sweat breaking out on his face like he'd just seen something wild. He spotted the damaged armor and instantly recognized what it was. Back in his last life, out of all the best players, only one ever managed to collect the full evil dragon set, and that guy basically ran the game. Now somehow he just picked up the necklace part. This was some next level luck. It honestly felt like he just hit the ultimate loot drop. If he could level it up to legendary, coming back to life would be totally worth it. With the necklace, he knew the rest of the set would eventually fall into his hands. At that point, he'd be nearly unstoppable. His excitement was off the charts, his heart was racing like crazy. He tucked the necklace out of sight for now, planning to check it out when the time felt right. For the moment, he turned his attention to the Reaper hand bone, the item that nearly wiped out his character all over again. The system screen flashed up. He saw that Reaper's hand bone kicked in just fine. He got 1,000 potential as a reward and a new skill unlocked, Reaper's hand, starting at level 1. Reaper checked out the equipment panel and saw that when his hand was active, all his skills were boosted: double damage, no mana or resource cost, and everything went off instantly for a full minute. The after using it was only 30 seconds. Plus, this ability leveled up the more he used it. Mu just froze for a second, totally caught off guard. Every skill he's got just doubled and it keeps stacking. That's a full minute where he can go all out, dishing double the damage. If he lands a critical hit, it jumps to 4 times the usual power. Normally, special skills in Apocalypse don't get stronger until you're past level 100, but somehow this one is leveling up right now. Could barely hold back tears. He couldn't believe it. He was actually loaded now. For once, it felt like luck was on his side in Apocalypse City. Right after that, everything just crashed for him. He saw that leveling up now needed 5 million EXP. Seriously, last time getting from level 9 to 10 was only 400k. Now it jumps to 5 million for one level. That's wild. It honestly felt unfair, like the grind just turned up out of nowhere. Some days you're winning, other days the game just hits you with reality. Being op isn't free, there's always a catch. He could already tell his level was about to lag way behind. He decided not to stress. That tree god's chest was still sealed, just sitting there. He was ready to check the loot, grind to level 10, swap his gear, and grab that global first clear for the Ancient Wood Temple. This win was his. Next up, it was time to open the chest. The first thing to pop out was Tree God's final wish. As soon as it got picked, there was this quick whoosh, and suddenly a Tran showed up. Nobody saw it coming, but the Tran actually showed up looking like some old dude. The old lord looked at the warrior, finally at peace after being stuck for so long. Back in the day, he used to run this place and even teamed up with humans to fight off the evil ones. But he messed up just one bad choice, and that was it. Darkness took over, and now his time was almost up. Before he disappeared for good, he needed the warrior to do one last thing for him. This was the quest where you had to take on the old god temple and go up against the god who could wipe out stars. People knew there were some crazy secret rewards if you pulled it off. Jumped right in, no second thoughts. Turns out this lined up perfectly with Michael's mission. Their target, the god who could wipe out stars. Blue Star was just doing its thing in the universe, everything chill. But then scientists kept noticing something weird. A strange object was heading their way. All the numbers pointed to April 14th, 2129 as the day it might show up, and yeah, there was a small chance, like 2.7%, that it could actually hit. Nobody knew if it would actually crash, but once the apocalypse showed up in real life, from the ruined god Legion was the first one to pull up. Forget worrying about what happens to humanity later. At this point, even the final boss, who got totally nerfed, was still ruthless, and those 3 mini-bosses before him weren't messing around either. Back in his last life, a crew of big spenders from Country P were the first ones to beat level 15. He figured it was time to see what was inside the other chest from the tree god. First chest opened up, 50,000 gold, 300 potential points, and a pair of Flame Trail triple boots, solid haul. But the second chest, it was stacked even more, 100,000 gold, 500 potential points, a purple skill book, and 1,000 temple reputation. Thought he totally scored. The gear turned out to be Mage Type 2. He spotted a purple universal skill book, and just like that, new skills popped into his head instantly. Using Purifying Spirit Energy gives a boost. Attack power jumps up by 100 for 5 minutes. At the same time, a clone shows up and sticks around for 5 minutes, but it only has half his stats. Once it's over, gotta wait 30 minutes before using it again. Mew couldn't believe his eyes. There was a combat clone right in front of him. This was next level. When it comes to temple reputation, everyone already knows how important it is. The whole reason humans are still around is because the temple keeps them safe. If someone gets close with the temple NPCs, it's like having a cheat code, you're set. But temple reputation isn't something you can just grind out with regular quests. The higher your rep goes, the better your loot drops and you unlock hidden stuff way more easily. Getting the first global boss kill comes with some serious loot. The chest was absolutely loaded, 30,000 gold, a nice boost of 800 potential, 10,000 points for temple rep, 3 top-tier appraisal cards, the triple boots, a basic guild blessing pass, a rare quest accessory, and the Demon Slayer title. 8 rewards in total, yeah, that's how you know it's legit. Getting a guild blessing permit is a game changer since it boosts everyone in the squad. Starting out with that kind of edge basically puts his future guild a step ahead of the rest. Sumu thought the Demon Slayer title was perfect for wiping out monsters. After the apocalypse dropped, the place was crawling with demons everywhere. This skill gives him the Demon Slayer boost, stacking 20% extra damage against fiends, bumps up his crit rate by 20%, and even adds 20% more resistance. Time to hand out stat points. No question, he threw it all into magic attack. Dude was going for pure damage, full-on mage mode. One fireball and anyone messing around would get the message real quick. He glanced at his stats and noticed his magic attack was almost twice as high as before. He decided to save the quest for the jewelry for later. Extra rewards, especially stuff besides gear, always hit different. For now, he was heading back to town to get everything checked out. Back at the spawn, everyone was freaking out. He felt his heart racing, thinking this could be it, they might be trapped for good. Not being able to log out sounded like a nightmare, and he couldn't help but wonder if they'd just end up zoned out IRL. He really hoped TNC Company would get it together and fix whatever was going on. That's when they noticed. Everyone online was freaking out about Wood God. People couldn't believe what he just did. They were all hyped, saying he basically saved everyone. Some guys were already talking about joining his squad if he ever started a guild. Others were joking around, saying they'd follow him anywhere or do whatever he wanted. The chat just kept blowing up, with messages getting wilder every second, and everyone wanted to be a part of whatever Wood God was doing next. Gave a small smile. He knew everyone needed to keep grinding. Their 818 beginner village had to be the first squad to make it to the main city. The other players were all in. They were ready to follow Sleed, level up fast, and race for that spot in the main city. Back in Country P, the commander lost it and slammed his cup down, totally pissed. The region just snagged the first global clear, and that win was supposed to be theirs. He wanted answers right away, calling for Johnson to update him on how things were going. Johnson let everyone know they'd already messed with the tree god and things were about to get real. He and the other experts looked over the boss stats, but after checking it all out, the commander made it clear they just weren't strong enough to beat the tree god right now. The commander lost it and ripped his shirt, totally fed up. He told everyone that if they couldn't finish the job, they'd be out. Johnson just held it in, hating how the guy was always on his case. Deep down, he knew this quest was way too tough for their squad right now. Every country was getting fired up because of that dude with God, but their own crew was already falling behind. Mew pulled up at the potion shop, and the lady behind the counter couldn't help but mess with him a bit, calling him out for being good-looking. Not really paying attention to her jokes, Mew just got straight to business. He needed a ton of purification potions, like 100, and threw in a request for a holy potion too. Purification potions were going for 200 gold a pop, but the holy potion, that thing cost a wild 100,000 gold. Just stared at the numbers and his wallet basically cried. The shop lady handed a bag and smiled at him, looking way more chill than before. She seemed pretty grateful for how he handled those guys and helped out the village. Could tell the pharmacist wasn't acting like her usual self anymore. Mew dropped some purification potion on the evil dragon bone chain and started hoping hard for a legendary pull. He'd never seen anything legendary in his last life, so this moment had him seriously locked in. The necklace suddenly lit up, glowing gold everywhere. It looked straight up legendary. After getting a second shot at life, he realized his luck just went through the roof. He finally had a reason to use the perfect appraisal card. He was hyped to try it out. Was hyped up, he wanted those wild stats, those next level effects. The scan worked. He was looking at the broken evil dragon bone chain and it was straight up legendary gear. It boosted his magic attack by 70, gave him 120 more spirit and added 100 to all his elemental stats. On top of that, he got 50 more resistance to every element, and his spell crit rate went up by 3%. Couldn't stop smiling. He couldn't believe these stats were real. Just one necklace gave him more magic attack than his weapon, even after upgrades and with all its resistance. It felt like his gear just leveled up instantly. Now he was rolling with a 150-point elemental advantage over everyone else. Mew stacked right now. He's got the village chief's blessing, Demon Slayer, some gear upgrades, and extra skill boosts all active at once. Mew was way overpowered for the ancient tree temple. Running through it was almost too easy for him, but taking on the secret quest without taking a single hit, that was a different story. He figured he'd need to grind a bit more before pulling that off. He knew the other players didn't stand a chance anyway, so he decided to level up to 10 first, then maybe squad up with some pay-to-win guys and make some extra cash. Sounded like a solid plan. Out of nowhere, this massive beam of light came crashing down from the sky. Sumu's eyes narrowed, locking in on the moment. This was it that was finally kicking off. None of the players knew what was going on. Out of nowhere, their bodies started heating up like they'd just run a marathon. Something had dropped from the sky, but was it really a meteor? Right after that, everything blew up. Heat blasted out everywhere like the whole place just got lit up. Everyone around just took off, not even looking back. Stared down at the broken ground. This was just how things showed up in Apocalypse Online. The Star Devourer could have wrecked the place way worse, but the game toned it down. If everything was as real as it could get, nobody here would survive. Everyone would have been wiped out in seconds. Players started sprinting, yelling that the fire was on its way. Some of them wondered if the beginner village was even safe at this point. They remembered the last attack. Despite everything, the village still ended up burning. Right then, the village chief stepped up and did his thing. He threw a blue sea skill that spread out across the sky. A massive wave rolled in and put out the fire around the village like it was nothing. Nobody saw that coming. The players just stood there trying to process how the old chief turned out to be this tough. Turns out he's got both sorcery moves and water magic. Dude S basically running two classes at once. But now everyone's thinking back, wondering why he just chilled and snacked while they got wrecked during the treatment raid. That move felt wild. The fire was finally under control, and now there was steam everywhere, making the place look kind of hazy. The players couldn't help but hype him up. They were all thinking the chief was on another level, calling him the real boss and saying he had to be some kind of hidden legend. Everyone was half joking, half serious, hoping he'd drop some secret quest or reward just for them. The chief looked over at them, kinda sizing them up for a second. He just kept snacking on melon seeds like nothing was up. But suddenly word spread, just showed up. The warriors in Apocalypse Online had to step up. No way could they let this guy walk out of Green Bay Forest. Everyone who dared to face him was promised some serious power-ups. Still, one dude couldn't believe it. He saw the guy munching seeds right in the middle of all the chaos and was totally thrown off. Out of nowhere, a quest notification popped up over everyone's heads. It said that Star Devourer just broke into the underground sanctuary, and all the warriors needed to rush in and take him down. The Ancient Tree Temple dungeon had just gone global. Everyone could get in now. Checked out the system pop-up. The very first dungeon in Apocalypse Online was finally live. In-game was about to dive into the old Tree Temple ruins over in Green Bay Forest, hunting for some ancient gear. Back in his past life, showed up on Blue Star and just started wiping out everything in his path, all because he was hunting down some rare material for the Destruction Legion. Way out in the Amazon, there was actually a spot that looked exactly like the old Tree Temple from the game. Turns out, a bunch of things and crazy loot from Apocalypse Online were actually real and out there in the world. There were still some that hadn't shown up, and others were stuck in places nobody wanted to go. Even if he dropped all his past life info on the big countries right now, they'd just brush him off, or maybe even mess things up worse. Humanity just wasn't strong enough to hold off the invasion. If anyone wanted even a shot at fighting back, they had to level up and push themselves way past their limits. The only real chance came from getting stronger and bringing those crazy apocalypse skills into the real world. The old Tree Temple dungeon wasn't something you could just pay your way through. Guys needed to actually know how the place worked and be strong enough to handle it. Still, when the dungeon showed up, everyone went wild. The first players finally had a real challenge to go after. He decided to let them deal with the rough part of the game on their own. He was out, logging off to check something on his phone. Outside, the sun was already up and shining, showing it was a brand new morning in the real world. Kicked back and stretched out, loving how much better a real bed felt after all that time roughing it. He grabbed his phone, opened up the forums, and started scrolling to see what the new guys were saying. Nobody was surprised, they all got put in their place. This didn't even feel like a real game anymore. It was something people just weren't meant to mess with. Even with the whole squad, they couldn't take down the little mobs. Could tell this was just the warm-up. He knew the real scary stuff was still waiting for him up ahead. Every country was grinding hard to clear the old Tree Temple, trying to be first. But out of nowhere, the regions started popping off and led the pack. The Z team from the Imperial capital managed to make it to the first boss, but that's where they hit a wall. Looks like they're stuck playing catch-up for now. Leaned back into the game pod, spinning his ring with his thumb. The second he jumped online, came right over. She couldn't believe he was still stuck at level 9 since he used to leave everyone in the dust. Came back after a quick break, noticing that who had way more cash had already used up a bunch of level up potions. He checked his own gear, just some green stuff and basic skill books, then wondered if anyone needed them. Didn't waste time, he shot back a reply right away. Because of the help with resources, his squad had leveled up fast. He was already thinking ahead, planning to hit up the Ancient Tree Temple as soon as he hit level 10. He had the inside scoop with guides to back him up. If anyone wanted to roll with his crew, he was confident they'd find the first boss without any trouble. Mew heard the news and couldn't help but roast it in his head, thinking about how pointless it sounded. To him, whatever info the Z team had was useless anyway, basically trash. But since Juan had some serious connections, it made sense she'd always be the first one to get the scoop. He knew the Ting group was all about showing what you could do. Everyone had to prove themselves. Even though there were a lot of good-looking girls around, he only had eyes for her. Mew really only had eyes for her. Looking a bit embarrassed, tried to get back on track. She let him know that if he joined their crew, she could hook him up with any new info about the dungeon routes as soon as someone found them. Plus, she offered to split 30% of the dungeon loot with him. Mew paused for a second, taking it all in. He realized the people backing were no joke, they had real power. She wasn't playing around trying to get him on board, even dropping some serious info just to show how serious she was. Everyone's out here losing their minds over dungeon info because it's basically worth a fortune, but honestly, he just can't get himself to care that much. She either totally crushed it or just blanked out. Why, what did he even say? He told Miss to just grind and level up before even thinking about going near the dungeon. Even at level 10, she wouldn't stand a chance. After dropping that advice, he dipped to go farm some monsters on his own. Ting watched as Mew walked off, thinking it was wild that nothing seemed to faze him. She had all the inside info, her crew was stacked with gear and looked good doing it, but he still turned her down. Honestly, she knew her squad was the top pick, so Mew choosing to run the dungeon alone made zero sense to her. An hour later, everyone jumped back into the chat since Sumu had cleared out every monster. Other players wanted to know Mew's next move just so they could steer clear. Wherever he showed up, everything got wiped out. Mew was chill about it and always gave them a heads up before he rolled through. Leveled up to 10 just like that, he headed straight over to the chief's place without wasting any time. He walked up to the village chief, serious about starting his own guild. The village chief held up 3 fingers, basically saying he trusted him to be the real deal. Someone like him wasn't meant to just follow orders, he was meant to run things, start his own crew. Now it was time to pay up 300,000 gold coins, no matter how he wanted to hand it over. Mew watched as the village chief chilled there, cracking sunflower seeds like he owned the place. It felt like the chief was pretty much strong-arming the warrior, making him do all the work. Mew almost let out a curse under his breath. If you actually wanted to be the leader, you had to put in some effort from the start. Was set on doing things solo now. He decided it was time to start his own guild and bring in some top-tier players to back him up. Mew felt a heavy weight in his chest as he hit confirm. He named the guild Valley. It meant Valley of Ascension, a spot where legends get made. This group was about to become one of the top squads protecting when the apocalypse dropped. And her crew got the update that Mew just dropped a new guild. Since it was the first guild ever, everyone around the world found out. Honestly thought her group would be first, so seeing Mew pull it off this quick caught her off guard. Turns out, Mew was also aiming to be the top dog, and honestly he had what it takes. Sister got the announcement too. The guys in the Madman Guild noticed it too. One of the crew pointed out how that kid started a guild before anyone saw it coming. But Mad God of War just brushed it off, staying cool and made it clear he wasn't worried. The Madman Guild was still aiming to be top dog. Right now, Mew's inbox was blowing up with guild requests. Over 1,000 people wanted in, but he turned down every single one. Guilds usually capped at 50 people, so he started thinking about using that guild blessing reward the system handed him earlier. Guild blessings handed out random stat boosts that stuck around for a whole day. The first spin each day didn't cost anything, but after that you had to pay with gold or points. This time he scored a 5% dodge boost, definitely a win. Tracked down the blacksmith. He asked for 2 regular identification scrolls, nothing special. The blacksmith didn't waste any time, just dropped the price, 200 gold. Thought the guy was kind of stingy, maybe even salty that the apothecary actually enjoyed chatting with him. This blacksmith really wasn't seeing the bigger picture. All 3 of Mew's new gear pieces, the flame, war, and triple set, were purple quality, which was solid. But honestly, he thought the escape effect on them was kind of lame, almost like even so the stats slapped, so he figured he might as well grab a helmet to finish the set and see if the bonuses hit harder. He grabbed the world horn and put his buy request out there for everyone to see. That set off a whole mess. Out of nowhere, his DMs blew up with random stuff, some folks trying to shoot their shot, diehard fans acting wild, even other players trying to get on his good side. Sumu just scrolled through, totally unfazed. Guys started dropping wild, over-the-top messages about how much they liked him, and Sumu was seriously grossed out. That just wasn't his thing at all. Out of nowhere, a regular message popped up. Honestly didn't see it coming. A level 2 assassin just scored a level 10 purple item. This dude's luck was wild. But right after, he caught on that he was getting messed with. Mu thought this dude had to be messed up. Why even bother texting if you're not actually gonna sell? He honestly didn't think this assassin would be even more next level with the mind games than him. Mu was ready to shut this guy down. Seriously, who did this dude think Mu was? Some clueless noob. Rolling up to Function Valley with only a purple item, total rookie move. Sumu just stopped cold when the assassin suddenly dropped a message asking if he could join her guild, and said he'd hand it over for free if she let him in. Player code just made it into Function Valley, showing up as member number 13. He knew real guys know when to flex and when to chill. Mew, always scheming, couldn't hide how pleased he was inside. He was all about picking the top dogs from the memory, not trying to build a huge crew, just making sure every player he picked was legit. He had no clue what Code 13 even was. He thought maybe they'd just grab the loot, let the guy get the guild blessing, then boot him. But with Function Valley being the top guild right now, it made sense they wanted to keep things legit. Showed up and spotted boss. Honestly, he just wanted to disappear right then, super awkward. He He wondered if it'd be easier if just took him out now, since there's no way the guy could win against him anyway. Code, who was only 13, just couldn't stop talking. He kept bugging the boss, wondering why their guild only had 2 people. Mew just found it funny and thought to himself that Code had no idea pretty soon there'd be only one person left in the guild. Life's tough and maybe Code would get it soon enough. Code 13 kept rolling. He couldn't help but wonder why their guild was always broke. He decided to boost the balance himself. With a few taps, the guild's funds suddenly jumped to $10.5 million. Froze up, he couldn't believe what he just saw. Someone had just dropped $10 million in a single donation. Was this dude for real? Code 13 started showing off, acting like dropping $1 million was no big deal. He joked about only being able to donate $1 million at a time and told the boss to drop $10 million first just in case. Didn't waste any time and grabbed his hand, hyped up. He told him to go grab the blessing since it could boost his stats. Realized he hadn't been seeing the big picture before. Even those old legends who could host thousands knew everyone brought something to the table. Players like Code 13, always stepping up and carrying the team, really made a difference. When it came down to it, rules were just there to be pushed. Once he picked up the helmet, his gear was finally all together. The full set gave him this wild bonus. Basically, he had a coin flip chance to survive a fatal hit for an hour. He'd be hanging on with just 1 HP, but sometimes that's all you need to pull off something crazy and turn things around. Those 1 HP clutch moments always hit different. Stuff like skills, every class wants those, total game changer. Lined up his 4 purple items and that 1 orange one, ready to take on the ancient tomb temple dungeon. Code 13 never knew when to stop talking. Put him on mute for an hour. He told him not to get ahead of himself and said he'd handle carrying the team. Since this dungeon was no joke, he wanted to make sure he was ready before jumping in. But honestly, level 6 was weak and his friend needed to get his stats up first. The guy nodded and wasted no time. He was already pulling up his phone, ready to hire a squad to boost his level ASAP. Saw Mew's dungeon invite pop up. To join the party, she'd need 200,000 gold. That number had her stunned. Looked over and asked her if she was ready to get on the bus and pay, calling her out for her long legs. A couldn't believe what he was hearing. Nobody had managed to beat the first boss. Everyone got wiped as soon as the thing lost enough health and went wild. All the players just bounced off that last attack, so he was grinding out a full support healer build, hoping to barely survive. He wondered what kind of strategy this guy had in mind. Jumped in and shut her down, basically saying she was just too weak. He basically told everyone that if they wanted in, just grab their ticket and show up at 9. Teaming up with him meant getting through for sure. Ting started thinking about what would happen if they didn't pull it off, but wasn't having any doubts. He just brushed it off, acting like there was no way they'd fail. Even threw in a deal: if they messed up, he'd pay everyone back, no questions asked. But if they actually cleared it, he wanted a reward that probably wasn't safe for the group chat. The rest got blurred out, leaving everyone guessing. Right after he said that, Sumu just dipped, sprinting off like he couldn't wait to get out of there. Don't stress about missing out though, he was just messing around. He'll catch you next time. About half a day later, showed up at the spot with Code 13. Thanks to dropping some serious cash, Code 13 managed to hit level 7 fast. The guy basically switched up and went full pig bro mode. He couldn't help noticing that while there was actually a stunning girl on their squad too. He looked at the boss, ready to jump in. He figured it might be a good move to introduce himself and get things rolling. Spotting the girl, he thought it'd be smart to get used to fighting together, maybe start by catching up with first. Mew yanked him by the collar, totally not having it. If had that much free time, he might as well shout out some recruitment lines for new teammates. Missing out? No worries, just join the squad. Deep down, started thinking that, yeah, maybe teaming up with Mew was the real shot at beating this dungeon. Code 13 just snatched up an actual horn and started calling out, hyped about some god showing up and bragging about getting the first dungeon kill and 200k gold. He kept shouting that there were only 2 spots left and whoever got there first could join. Mew and the crew just stood there, pretty much frozen, wondering if this guy was for real. Like, did he not get that a world horn wasn't supposed to be an actual physical horn? Not long after, the public chat blew up with everyone talking about Sumu carrying the whole squad. That dungeon's no joke, most people can't even clear it. Folks were saying there's no way Wood God could guarantee a first kill, had to be some wild scam. People also noticed Wood God was only level 10, which was kinda sus, especially since some guys were already level 11. Charging 200k per spot, nobody with sense would drop that much. Got kinda embarrassed when he heard what everyone was saying. He started thinking, what if he just took both spots for himself? He could just ditch his friends since they could get their money back anyway, so it wasn't really a big deal. Plus, running around and checking stuff out together actually sounded fun. He knew would watch out for him, and honestly the money part stayed the same no matter what. He didn't really care who else joined, as long as it wasn't anyone from the Mad God of War Guild. Not long after, her sisters showed up. One of them was a level 10 mage, and the other was a level 11 warrior. Code 13 hyped up the boss, tossing out big claims about how strong he was. He told everyone to just chill and let the boss handle it. Ting couldn't help but crack up, thinking Code 13 was just messing around. She figured there was no way they'd actually pull it off like he said. Everyone was probably getting wiped out, not carried. None of them seemed convinced the boss could really do what Code 13 promised. Code, who was 13, looked over at and seemed like he wanted to do something cool. Honestly, had no clue what Code was planning. Out of nowhere, the whole screen got flooded with messages from Code 13's horn. Every horn set him back 1,000 gold, but this dude just dropped 1,000 of them at once like it was nothing. Seriously, who does that? If he's got cash to burn, he could have just sent it my way. The whole place just froze, nobody saw that coming. When they got to the dungeon entrance, there was already a crowd of players waiting around. As soon as they noticed Code 13 was only a level 7 assassin, people started giving him side-eye. Nobody thought he'd be much help. It was like even some random archer would probably be more useful. Everyone just assumed was dragging along rich newbies for fun. Nobody really cared about class or level at this point. One guy even went off, saying if actually got the first kill, he'd stream himself doing something embarrassing. He wondered if God would really just chill like that. Was he actually up for this? Girls looked amazing, each with their own vibe. The second they stepped into Code 13 totally freaked out, yelling like he'd never seen anything before. He couldn't believe how massive the place was, and straight up told him to keep quiet. Code 13 kept pressing Sumu for answers. He'd seen online that the first stage was basically a maze, and if they messed up the order with those stone doors, they'd just be stuck there for good. He really wanted to know how they were supposed to get through. S looked over at the captain, kind of hinting that someone wanted to say they're ready to roll. Since the captain was flexing about getting the first kill, pretty much called him out to just lead the squad straight to the first boss. Just hit with a straight-up challenge telling him to stick to his own path. Playing as Shasha started getting pissed. He couldn't believe was asking for 200k per slot, especially when was lower level than him. Charging people to run the dungeon felt weak, and honestly, if the guild leader hadn't told him to show up, he wouldn't have bothered. Mew wasn't about to go easy on her. If she wanted out, she could bounce whenever. But if she dipped on her own, that cash was gone for good. Code 13 moved up. His boss had made it clear the first kill was serious business. He expected the others to just chill and let him handle it. Everyone kept running their mouths, but then S just snapped. Compared to the rest, he was only a level 7 assassin rocking all white gear, so honestly he was the weakest in the squad. They pulled up to this insane ravine, and right there was a waterfall pouring blood, packed with monsters trying to claw their way out. Code 13 got chills for real. The smell was wild, like actual blood. Out of nowhere, the whole vibe switched up, and it felt like he just dropped into a horror game. Kept his guard up and gave a heads up. Blood fiends were hiding right behind the waterfall. They moved quick and dodged attacks like it was nothing. Every squad that came through got taken out. Even Z-Team barely made it through. Just shrugged it off, acting like everything was chill. He knew as long as nobody started anything, those guys wouldn't bother anyone. For him, this road was basically a free pass. After walking for a bit, the girls started to see that Sumu actually knew what she was talking about. The blood fiends looked pretty freaky, but they just kept their distance and didn't mess with anyone. Still, the question stuck in their minds, how did God even know this stuff? They ran into another maze pretty quick. The dude leading the way just kept moving, and everyone figured the best move was to trust him and stay low. The moment they walked in, bones were just everywhere on the floor. Code 13 started cracking jokes, wondering if these things were about to get up or something. Right then, the bones suddenly started rattling, almost like they heard him. Glared at you, totally convinced you just jinxed everything and made it worse. The bones snapped together and turned into skeleton soldiers ready to fight. The skeleton soldiers, all level 7, didn't waste any time. As soon as they showed up, they charged in with their jaws hanging open, ready to go after anyone in their way. Stepped up and swung her sword, making it clear the little pigs weren't just here for show. She rushed in and took down a skeleton soldier with a quick slash. The skeleton just stopped moving, and then its eyes lit up bright red. Freaked out and threw her shield up, but the skeleton was just built different. Its health and defense stats were off the charts. Told Little Rabbit to jump in and help out. A fireball landed, but it just did regular damage, nothing wild. Went in for another hit, slicing right through a skeleton soldier's back and splitting its spine clean. Out of nowhere, another skeleton swung its sword and caught right on the shoulder. Didn't waste a second and got her patched up fast. Right after, Little Rabbit jumped in with Frost Blossom Dance. She quickly figured out the skeleton was way too. No matter what she did, she just couldn't land any real hits. Frost Blossom Dance ended way faster than he expected. Seriously, why did so many of those things pop up? He couldn't help but think about how God promised to handle it, but now it just felt like he got left hanging. At that point, Mew figured they'd learned what they needed. He knew it was time to jump in and handle things himself. Next, things got real flashy. A fireball dropped out of nowhere and just wrecked everything. The damage was wild, literally 6 times stronger than what Little Rabbit could pull off. Sumu got Frost Blossom Dance back in his grip, and right away, the skeletons around him froze solid, turning into ice statues. Suddenly, fire started pouring from above, wiping out the skeleton soldiers in seconds. Just froze for a second. That damage was unreal. Like, how was that even allowed? Regular hits were dropping 4 digits in the crits. Those things were hitting over 3,000. It was wild watching tough monsters get wiped out that fast. For a second, he started to think he might actually snag the first kill. Back when Mew played, he remembered skeleton soldiers were pretty easy to take down since they couldn't handle any elemental attacks. After beating them, he just needed someone to snag the loot for him. Appreciated the help. Every item from the chat log went straight to Mew as soon as they dropped, got heated and pointed right at him. She just realized Mew had set the loot mode to captain distribution, basically making sure he grabbed everything for himself. That move definitely wasn't cool. Money was tight for him, still he had to admit the girls just put up a solid fight, way braver than he expected. Deep down, A couldn't help but feel a little defeated. The difference between them was obvious. Meanwhile, A caught the sarcasm right away and was clearly not having it. They dropped code 13 in and the team was locked in, working together without any drama. No one was whining, just getting things done. TSK was really sucking up to the boss like next level. It was the first time he'd actually seen someone go that hard just to impress. They made it to a spot where ice and fire clashed together. Noticed right away this wasn't the same path the Z-team took. The second they touched down in the ice-fire zone, A and a little rabbit totally lost it. They took one look at the jump and froze. There was no way they were about to launch themselves down there. It looked straight up impossible, like a one-way ticket to disaster. Before she could even wrap up her sentence, Sumu took off. He didn't wait around or ask for backup, just straight up told everyone he'd handle it solo and be back in 5. Knew what he had to do, hold his ground and keep his shield up. Jumped right into the magma zone, but instead of dropping into the lava, he just floated on top and started zipping around like lava was a regular floor. With Frost Blossom Dance backing him up, he found way more spots to land his feet. Nobody really knows where God's headed, but he acts like he's got the whole map memorized. He leads the way straight to where the monsters show up, like he's done this 100 times before. Code 13 just flexes like nobody else gets it. His boss is always the real deal. Mew showed up at a spot he'd been aiming for the whole time. This was the place he wanted to reach. He pulled off Frost Blossom Dance, locking that fireball in ice and then taking it out. He came back right at the 5-minute mark, carrying something in his arms that was shining gold. Was instantly curious, trying to figure out what he found. Whatever it was, he looked like he didn't want to share, like he'd stumbled on some rare treasure and wanted to keep it all to himself. Kept it real, he just held out his hand and showed everyone a tiny, golden chick sitting there. Nobody expected that, definitely not in the report. People started wondering what it actually did. He kept it mysterious, not giving anything away, and just told them to get moving to the ice snow zone for the boss fight. When they finally showed up, everything was covered in ice. The ground was slick, so they had to slow down a bit, and even their healing potions weren't working like usual. They only hit for about 80%. Out of nowhere, the ice started splitting apart. That's when they realized the boss just pulled up. Out of nowhere, a bunch of metal-looking tentacles shot straight out of the ice with a loud crash. This thing was actually a level 10 human face centipede, rocking 15,000 HP and barely taking damage from water attacks. If it managed to eat 9,999 more people, it would fully turn into a human. Suddenly, it unleashed a roar that was straight up wild. Everyone grabbed their heads all at once. Some kind of crazy sound was messing with them. Sprinted out ahead of everyone. He tried to stay locked in, but stuff around him kept throwing him off. The group split up, each one heading their own way. Out of nowhere, a fireball blasted through and dropped more than 3,000 damage in a flash. The human-faced centipede wasn't some pushover. It fired back with a breath attack. Luckily, it didn't do much damage, and Mew dodged to the side with wind shadow like it was nothing. Stepped up, ready to draw the boss's attention. Since the boss couldn't be hurt by water moves, mages had to skip using waltz. The warriors just waited for the right moment to go for the boss's stomach. Roger got the message. Code 13 wanted to know how he could help. Already had handled. Honestly, with skills like that, Roger was basically just background. He knew he should stay out of the way and not mess things up. The centipede with a human face started powering up, then blasted an energy cannon right at. He managed to dodge just in time. If that attack landed with how low his HP and defense were, he would have been pretty much done for. Right then, the system suddenly dropped a new mission on him. He had to clear the ancient wood god temple without taking a single hit. Realized the system was way more ruthless than he ever was. If he messed up even once or took any damage at all, it was game over. He couldn't afford to lose a single bit of HP. Saw it come through for him, solid move. Landing a hit to the gut made the other guy stumble for 3 seconds, so took the lead. 13 was itching to jump in too, ready to get his own shots just for the thrill. Stagger time ended, so everyone had to keep an eye out for the boss's tail swing. Ting moved fast, raising her sword just in time to block. Code 13 took off fast. He really didn't want anyone coming after him, kept moving like nobody better lay a hand on him since he hadn't done anything. The human-faced centipede dropped a brutal ice storm out of nowhere. Ting gave everyone a heads up to stay sharp. Called out for everyone to spread out since the monster was locked onto him. Icy tornadoes came flying right at Mew. He didn't waste a second, moving crazy fast, just like his nickname said he would. He weaved through the thick ice spikes, then fired back, landing a solid hit that made the centipede's HP bar drop for real. The human-faced centipede was down to just 750 HP now. started freaking out, realizing things were getting out of control. Right after she was done, the centipede just snapped and went wild. Tons of little centipedes started crawling up from the ground everywhere. The smaller centipedes just climbed up onto the big one instead of going after them. They all grouped up into this huge ball shape. Still acting as Sha started freaking out inside, he knew things weren't looking good. That thing was still totally out of control. The centipede's fear was now stacked with 3,000 attack power and a wild 10,000 defense, plus it couldn't even be hurt by normal damage anymore. To make things worse, its ultimate storm move just blasted everyone on the whole field. Ting over at it was honestly starting to freak out. It looked like the entire map was about to get covered and there was literally nowhere to dip to. Z-Squad already got smoked right there, so the pressure was real. Then came Code 13 just walking in like he owned the place, totally sure of himself. He didn't even act worried, just said that with his boss around, anyone would get clapped in no time. The guys just told the girls to chill and watch them handle it. Out of nowhere, tons of beams shot out from this freaky ball made up of human faces, kind of like a centipede but way more messed up. There had to be tens of thousands coming at them. It was non-stop and there was just no room to move out of the way. While all that was going on, Sue just made random noises the whole time with the golden chick, totally in her own world. Out of nowhere, she threw up a big go energy like she was about to win something. Out of nowhere, the chick lit up with this insane golden glow. Ting and the rest had to throw their hands up to block the light. Out of nowhere, this massive golden rooster popped up right in front of them. The centipede kept swinging at it, but every hit just made a loud metal sound. Everything just got blocked. That's the trick behind the first boss. They all kept failing, but now it made sense. The boss wasn't playing fair, felt straight up unfair. His heart was pounding like crazy. This boss was on another level, smart as hell. Chicken Bro was actually insane. The human-faced centipede snapped out of its rage and ended up looking totally drained. Sumu had been waiting for this exact moment. He dropped a fireball and just like that, 0 HP, game over. Just when it seemed like things had calmed down, another meteor came crashing down from the sky and totally wrecked the body, breaking it apart everywhere. The crew just took down that creepy human-faced centipede, and everyone was hyped up for the win. Stared at the loot completely stunned. Out of nowhere, a purple item had dropped. The system popped up, wanting to know if he wanted to grab the frost glass skirt. In loot mode, the leader is in charge of handing out gear. The leader can either grab the purple stuff for himself or put it up for auction. Saw the warlock purple and instantly wanted it, dropping a 50,000 offer without hesitation. Got hyped, thinking scored big, first boss and already some gear he could actually use. Code 13 jumped in out of nowhere. He told everyone to wait up and dropped a $100,000 bid just like that. Couldn't help but get annoyed. This dude clearly had no clue about the game. He was bidding on something only a warlock could use. Jumped in basically telling his older brother he wouldn't even need the item, so just let him have it already. Off to the side, Code 13 checked out, rating his legs and face both with a solid 90 out of 100. He had no intention of backing down. The gear looked good on him, but he had already decided to keep it for himself. Yesterday, Code 13 ran into a warlock girl who was actually pretty cute and figured he'd give her this item as a gift. And both called him out, pointing straight at him. He really showed up in basic white gear, thinking he could impress girls just because he had one purple item. Sumu just let out a sigh, thinking that guy was out here trying to be a player. He decided to start an auction and told everyone to put in their bids if they wanted it. Both of them just started throwing out wild bids, not holding back at all. In the end, 13 dropped a 200 in the chat, locking it in. He wondered if got all the cash from the auction. Just reminded him that since the gear belonged to him, the money was his too. That cleared things up real quick. He noticed her legs were pretty long and she definitely stood out, but in his head, he knew he showed up just a day after he should. Plus, he figured she and her friend didn't really respect his boss the way he did. So without hesitating, he threw down a $500,000 bid. Saw the price, $500,000 gold, and just gave up right there. No way was he dropping that much. He figured if he really wanted the item, he could just grind for another one later. He watched all this and realized this is how rich dudes flex, dropping stacks of gold just to impress a girl they barely know in game. Seemed wild to her, dude had to be on something. Code 13 felt pretty good about himself. He handed over the cash, ready to grab the gear. He was clearly hyped, acting like he just scored a solid deal. Sized the guy up and realized he was seriously loaded. He wondered why he'd never heard of this dude before, even though he'd seen a lot in his last life. With someone like that around, handling the guild's money would be a breeze. Cleared his throat, ready to get going. Time to move. Another boss was up next, and he knew there was more cool stuff waiting just ahead. A few seconds later, Sumu touched the stone door, and it instantly lit up with a bright cross-shaped light. When the door swung open, he saw this huge open space right in front of him. Could tell the boss area was coming up soon. There aren't any regular enemies to deal with here, just the boss and its weird gimmick. Everyone needs to pick a pillar and just chill there, no moving around or swinging at anything. He's about to set things off, so nobody does anything until he gives the word. Gave him a heads up to watch out. Meanwhile, picked up on the weird vibe in the room. Honestly, he couldn't help but notice how those two seemed like a couple right then. Took his time heading over to the little hut. Out of nowhere, the system popped up with some info. Turns out this place used to be where the temple builders stayed. Now it's also how you get into the inner sanctum. Back when the temple was finished, everyone gathered here to celebrate. But then it looked like they messed with something they definitely weren't supposed to, and got hit with a curse from some dark power. Every single one of the 48 workers ended up trapped inside that hut, no way out. Eased the door open just a bit. Right away, this weird purple-black mist started pouring out, sliding toward him fast, and there were these rustling sounds coming from somewhere inside. Code 13 was already shaking just from being nearby. He started asking if anyone else noticed something off. Noticed and just clowned on him, calling him out for acting scared. Nobody wanted to admit being scared, especially not him. He tried to play it off, acting like he was just checking in on the others. Shaw started messing with him again, calling him out for being a coward. She couldn't believe he was actually scared by this. If he couldn't handle it, what was he even doing playing a game like Apocalypse? This game was next level real. Slid up right behind him, catching him off guard. She pointed out a path from earlier in the maze, saying there was a whole room packed with ghosts who didn't make it. Now those ghosts were right behind him. Code 13 almost lost it, nearly passing out from how freaked out he was. Told everyone to chill and stay focused. Earlier he definitely picked up on some noise, almost like a crowd talking in the background, but he couldn't catch what they were saying. He felt like something was off and warned the others to stay alert. There's no way the second stage was going to be easy. According to the system, the 48 workers basically fused into one. After Sumu walked in, the only thing standing out was that weird purple-black energy just hanging in the air. Out of nowhere, a noise came from behind a door that was shut tight. Monsters here weren't just random, they actually had some brains and you never really knew where they'd pop up next, so Mew had to stay on his toes. The system was brutal, making him get through the stage without taking a single hit, so he had no choice but to stay super careful. Out of nowhere, a human head started roaring, loud and wild. The door panel got blown clean off. This thing was a level 9 cursed worker. Mew didn't waste any time and threw a fireball right at him. It was way too close, he barely dodged it. That could have ended real bad. Right after that, heavy footsteps pounded from inside, and a bunch of mutated humans suddenly burst out. Mew was ready to pull off a move, but out of nowhere, the sound of footsteps just exploded around him. In like 2 seconds, he had people all around, totally boxed in. Mew just froze, seriously. He thought these monsters were only supposed to show up in one room at a time. Sumu didn't waste a second. He dropped Frost Dance and instantly froze everyone around him. He started wondering why every monster got triggered at the same time. Maybe he was doing too much damage and just deleting them instantly. The hut felt way too cramped, but he knew if he stepped outside, everything would just respawn and he'd have to start over. His attacks could wipe out all the enemies, but if he got tagged even once in that crowd, he'd blow the vow mission since he couldn't lose a single HP. He paused, thinking there had to be another move. He called out a clone right away. It stuck around for 5 minutes and only had half his power. Both Sumus jump in at the same time and go after him together. The main body could take someone out with just one fireball, but the clone had to use 2 to get the job done. The clone was hitting way weaker than usual, but the monsters barely slowed down at all. Mew kept firing off spells without slowing down, and by the end of it, his mana bar was almost drained. There were still a bunch of monsters hanging around. He looked over at his clone, already kinda knowing things were about to get awkward for both of them. The clone just stood there totally lost, and then got booted straight in the butt. A second later, a bunch of monsters rushed in and started ripping it apart. He knew he wasn't human, but honestly the real animal here wasn't him. Gulped down a mana potion, then used his clone to grab the monster's attention. While they were all focused on the fake, he iced every last one of them in one go. He couldn't help but feel pretty smart about it. The kill count hit the mark and the next phase kicked in. Right after that, the monsters started squirming all over the place. Things got weird fast when weird gurgling sounds started coming out of their mouths. Out of nowhere, they started fusing together, and the whole vibe just shifted. Mew understood he had to stay focused, no breaks allowed. If anything messed up this process, every monster he'd already taken down would just pop back up, making him fight through all of them again. And if he didn't hit the kill count in 10 minutes, the monsters would keep respawning forever, eventually wiping out everyone. Backed up a few steps until he was out of the hut. That weird gurgling sound kept going. He already knew the deal. If a squad didn't have enough damage, they wouldn't even get the boss to merge, let alone take it down. This dungeon was basically designed to make newbies quit before they could even get started. Code 13 let know the boss was just up ahead and told him to stay put wherever he was told. No matter what happened, even if monsters started charging, he wasn't supposed to move. Started thinking about what could go wrong, wondering if they might actually get taken out. He just stood there not moving a muscle because when the boss lays down the rules, you don't mess around. All he could do was take it, knowing he always gets called out for being soft and loud. Just stood there not saying a word, looked like he was about to lose it. Finally went quiet for a minute. Everyone could see he was at the bottom, weakest one there, but somehow he was always the loudest in the room. Right then, everyone heard this massive crash coming from outside the stone pillars. In the middle of all that smoke, so many arms and legs were just moving around, squirming everywhere. Out of nowhere, this giant monster showed up, a huge ball of bodies all mashed together, looking straight up wild. It had 28,000 HP, which was just insane. All 4 of them started sweating, totally thrown off. He couldn't believe he even asked that. Just thinking about it made his skin crawl. Whatever they were looking at, it barely even counted as a monster. This thing's got a revival mode. If it gets smacked, there's a 1 in 4 shot it bounces back with half its health, but only up to 3 times every hour. The fused creature let out a loud roar, sending chunks of debris flying in every direction. Kept moving fast, dodging side to side in an S-shape while throwing out attacks. He had no choice but to keep weaving like that just to keep up. The boss just wouldn't go down easy. Even with Sumu's crit rate, getting a solid hit in was way harder than expected. Out of nowhere, the fused creature stretched out this huge, weirdly long hand reaching right at him. Juan saw what was about to go down and instantly tried to warn. Su shifted from just messing with fire to actually launching a fireball, then slid out of the way fast. He nearly missed it. Its blood could burn through anything. He had to get it over to the pillars quick, or else all the hits he landed wouldn't matter since it could just bounce back like nothing happened. Suddenly, even more of those long arms reached out for him, so he had to start throwing fireballs back just to keep up. Gave a heads up moving slow. This thing's blood is straight up poison. No healing works on that. With the claws getting way too close, 13 totally freaked and scrambled up to the top of a pillar. Meanwhile, and weren't backing down, they jumped right in and started throwing hands. Code just 13 almost got snatched up. His heart was pounding so hard it felt like his whole soul just dipped for a second. Right at the last moment, that long arm just iced over completely. He got saved just in time. Good thing Boss stepped up when it mattered. Ice spikes started shooting through the sky while Sumu gripped his staff, locking in and sending out wave after wave of frost bolts. Out of nowhere, some massive feet came crashing down, heading straight for. Hands shot out everywhere, grabbing for the pillars. Frost dance kicked in right away, locking up every arm and leg in ice. Nobody saw it coming. The monster behind Mew looked way scarier than anyone thought it would. Huge hands came in from both sides, closing the gap fast. Code 13 froze up, barely able to get a word out. The girls totally lost it and started screaming, panicking all over the place. Really showed why he's the fastest out there. As soon as he switched on his wind shadow move, the creature tried to hit him but just swung at empty space. Didn't waste any time. He told everyone to go for it all in right then. Everyone in the group focused up and pushed their spirit energy into the pillars at the same time. A bright purple beam shot straight up into the sky, pointed for everyone to stay put inside the marked area and not mess around. Out of nowhere, a huge spirit symbol lit up the sky. Bright beams shot down from above, lighting up the monster like he was suddenly caught in a spotlight. Purple lightning shot all over its body, and it screamed loud enough to make anyone freeze. Code 13 just stood there, eyes wide. The effects in the game were next level, honestly hard to wrap his head around that this was all virtual. Felt the same way, not really expecting to see something this wild up close. Usually stuff like this only pops up in movies or on a stream, but now they were actually living it. It was one of those moments that made all the grinding totally worth it. Tings suddenly pointed forward, letting everyone know the boss just powered up. Beginner purple seal blocks any status effects, and puts a soul break suppression on anyone caught inside the formation for half a minute. The revive thing isn't gonna activate inside this, so that's full damage for the squad. They've basically got this win locked in. Roger's all in time to move. Everyone just started going off on the monster, throwing everything they had at it from all sides. Falling Firestorm was the most dangerous move out there. When the monster got hit, it was wrecked so badly you couldn't even tell what it used to be. The monster's HP dropped to 0 almost instantly. Code 13 snapped and everyone just stared at the boss like he was wild for pulling that off. They even managed to get through the second boss's hand-breaking move, which was nuts. And both let out a breath, finally able to chill for a second, because if things kept going like that, there'd be no chance to grab food later. Out of nowhere, Ting called out, noticing that the corpse started to move. Code 13 froze up. Right after that, the monster split into a bunch of people. Everyone dropped to their knees in front of. They were grateful. He'd finally pulled them out of all that darkness. They knew what they did was messed up, and honestly, they'd already paid the price for it. The group handed over everything valuable they had, hoping it would help out. They were honestly grateful to finally be free. There were stacks of gems, coins, and necklaces everywhere, plus 2 treasure chests glowing purple right in the middle. 13 pulls in, and just like before, he sees 2 purples show up. He's pretty hyped about the drops. He knows these are solid. He popped open the chest and just stopped in his tracks. The Frost Glass Belt and Frost Glass Blood were both there, looking cold and sharp, and just stared at him. The dude's luck was unreal. Code 13 Frost Glass 3-piece set complete. He figured that if he gave the whole set to the cute mage girl, she'd probably start liking him for real. Coughed, ready to kick off the auction. Code 13 wasted no time and tossed out a bid of 50,000 gold right away. He just wanted to skip it. Setting it up felt pointless. With $150,000 in his pocket, he could grab a bunch of those things if he wanted. Honestly, only someone not thinking straight would pay that much. Code 13 was still showing off, which was honestly perfect. If he actually wanted it, he'd go all in and outbid everyone again. Overat finally lost his cool. He just couldn't believe how some people acted like cash meant nothing. Couldn't even process what just happened. Out of everyone, there was only one girl mage on the team, but somehow she didn't get a single mage item. Watching try to hold it together, he could tell the dude was about to lose it. Seriously, what kind of person even plays like this? He dug through memories from his last life, but there was nothing on Code 13. Time to keep it moving and see what's next. They headed down the stone steps, taking it one at a time. On both sides, old, creepy murals covered the walls. They probably showed stuff that actually happened way back in the day. A system message popped up, letting him know he just stepped into the inner hall of the old wood temple. This was the only way to get to the back. Anyone who wanted to worship had to pass the trial, mess up, and it was game over for real. They walked into a massive hall, and right away, there were Serpent Man statues everywhere. Here's a heads up, if you see a faceless lamia, just don't look it in the eyes. Seriously, that's asking for trouble. Also, dying around here isn't a big deal. You'll keep coming back and you won't lose your stuff or any EXP. Code 13 looked over and asked if unlimited respawns meant the whole thing was basically a free win. He figured dying wouldn't even matter since they wouldn't have to start all over again. In his head, this had to be one of those easy stages, but playing as wasn't having it. She shot them a look and told them off, pointing out that even the weakest enemies here were overpowered. There was no way this was some kind of handout. Thinking it would be easy was just plain clueless. Number 13 snapped right back, acting like he knew everything, but honestly he just came off loud and kind of weak. He turned to the boss, asking if they had to get into those preset spots again, and looked like they were ready to take him out right then and there. Let him know that from here on out he was solo, no backup. Code 13 just stopped in his tracks, not really sure what to do next. He started thinking about what it'd actually be like if you could respawn forever. None of them agreed. Having unlimited respawns just meant dying over and over before anything else. If these guys kept tagging along, they'd miss the whole point of the game. This time they had to jump in solo and actually play for real. Code 13 was straight up nervous. He didn't care about having some epic experience. He just wanted to snag a world channel first kill at least once. Out of nowhere, a bunch of serpent mobs slid out. These were level 8 dust serpents. Gale Slash, Frost Dance, and Fireball all went off right in the middle of the group. He noticed these snakes just kept healing themselves, like their health bar never stayed down. Squinted, sizing them up. Even for him, taking these guys down in one hit wasn't happening. Their healing power was straight up annoying. Another round of fire just rained down. He heard the Code 13 alarm go off and instantly knew there was trouble. That snake had messed up again. He couldn't stand that guy. He was ready to throw hands, no hesitation. He winced hard, pain shooting through him. Patched him up and Code 13 bounced back right away. He noticed how chill she was, kind of grateful for the help. That moment definitely changed how he saw her. They worked together and wiped out the first wave fast. Out of nowhere, a tornado showed up and started sucking in all the serpent pieces. Out of nowhere, there was a loud snap and the stage 3 boss showed up. It was the faceless Lamia, and just seeing her made the whole vibe switch up instantly. Mu clamped his eyes shut fast, trying to stop him from looking, but the damage was already done. Everything went dark, couldn't see a thing, couldn't even move. Their HP started going down by 100 every second, like they were stuck in some endless pain that just wouldn't let up. Code 13 was the first to lose it and didn't make it. After that, he and the rest of the crew headed out behind him. A second later, Code 13 popped back up but got wiped out right away. He couldn't catch a break. The non-stop revives had him feeling sick, like his stomach was about to flip. This was supposed to be a game, but it felt way too real and he couldn't figure out why it wouldn't let up. Everything just kept coming at him and he was barely hanging on. The whole thing was pushing him past his limit. Moved in front of the faceless Lamia, blocking the way. He signaled for everyone to shut their eyes and back up. The whole apocalypse game wasn't even fun anymore, just blasting through everything got boring real fast. Code 13 totally lost his cool. He knew he wasn't strong enough and honestly, he talked way too much. All he wanted now was for the boss to handle everything next time so he could just chill. Felt super anxious and said it out loud. Still, looking back, paying for Wood God's taxi ride actually felt worth it. His face switched up real quick. He knew the boss was about to level up and things were about to get serious. He locked in, eyes wide open, ready to jump straight into the fight. Everyone froze, their faces sweaty as they tried to process what just happened. This boss looked insane, seriously ugly, with 2 little snakes poking out of its nose. Its health bar was stacked, sitting at 50,000. Definitely an elite monster. Reminded everyone to stay back and use their long-range moves. Code 13 just stood there, kind of awkward, since he was an assassin but didn't have any skills that worked from far away. The faceless Lamia slipped past Sumu's attacks way faster than anyone would expect. Just watched as hit actually landed. The Lamia wasn't going down without a fight. It shot out a stream of venom, not holding back at all. Yelled for everyone to stay sharp. He told to cover the healer, making sure nothing happens to them. Meanwhile, the assassins had to pull back about 30 meters, getting some distance between them and the action. He scooped up, turned into and dipped out with Wind's shadow, moving quick before anyone could react. Threw up a spirit barrier, keeping herself and safe. Mew kept moving fast, making sure he stayed out of trouble and always watching his back so nothing happened to her. Code 13 tucked himself away in the corner, making sure he stayed out of sight. Mew didn't waste any time. He called out a clone to back him up and keep things under control. The fireball slammed into the Lamia and right away it showed its fangs. Called out to, telling him to freeze assist. Still a bit lost, replied right away, not really sure what was going on. Skills just kept dropping on the Lamia nonstop, and she couldn't even get a move in. The thing's health bar got shredded in seconds, already down to half before anyone knew it. Right after that, the two eyes on its forehead started coming together, almost like they were fusing into one. The thing just let loose with a roar that shook the whole place. Was in trouble, it started pulling off this wild move called 10,000 snake capture. In the blink of an eye, a ton of tiny snakes launched straight at them, flying through the air like someone just spammed arrows their way. Mew could tell right away something wasn't right. Back in his old runs, he'd fought this boss so many times, and getting this skill to activate was almost impossible. Now he was starting to wonder if they had messed around with the game settings. Snake Swarm Valley just stretched on forever, and unless the squad went all in, there was no way to clear every single one. He realized he needed to think things through and come up with a solid plan. Looked over at his clone and just laughed to himself. He knew he had to use the clone to get out of the mess, even if it meant the clone was taking the hit for him. The signal was set, so he just sent the clone flying with a solid kick. Now it was all up to his bro, either make it work or go down swinging. The clone shot right into the faceless Lamia's mouth, no hesitation. Everyone just froze for a second. Was God really throwing his own teammate under the bus? People didn't even know you could play like that. The stuff you could pull off in this game was wild. Nobody even knew what a human cannon was supposed to be. Lost it for a second, he snapped back fast. Gotta attack now while it's wide open. Time to go all in and stack up that damage. Everyone started throwing out more attacks, not holding back at all. Sumo could tell his clone was about to disappear, and he only had like 3 seconds left to use it. Just like that, the Lamia went straight for the clone and took it out in no time. Snakes started popping out everywhere, but he just kept his focus. He dodged what he could and didn't let up, pushing through because the boss was almost done for. Now was the time to end it. Mew's speed moves were still recharging, so he couldn't dodge anything right now. If he took even the tiniest hit, his vow quest would be done for. Snakes were everywhere, packed in so tight he couldn't even move out of the way. He decided to go all in and dropped a fireball spell. The Lamia was barely hanging on, with just a tiny bit of health left. In Mew's eyes, this little snake suddenly got massive. For a second, he really thought it was over for him. She thinks she's the one she'll go after, and everyone else around her just freezes up, totally scared. Dropped Waltz right on time, freezing the snake in its tracks, barely a hair's width away from. Mew's fireball landed a solid hit, and the Lamia dropped right there, clearly not wanting to go out like that. Exhaled slowly, realizing he'd actually pulled it off. Victory was his. The ground lit up, loaded with gold, gems, and treasure chests scattered all over. Today was turning out all right. That jump nearly had his heart racing. Shouter totally came through when it counted. Mew gave a quick pat on the head. He was honestly impressed, thinking did a solid job. Trying not to smile too much, Mew decided it was time to see what they scored. Code 13 was checking things out and turned to boss, trying to figure out what this crimson scale or 4 thing even was. Explained it boosts your chances when upgrading gear, and honestly it's the kind of rare item you can't just buy anywhere. Out of nowhere, a weird noise grabbed everyone's focus. Everyone turned their heads to check out the stone gate. The gate creaked open real slow, and this icy wind just blasted out. He heard the system voice kick in. The temple gate was finally open. For anyone who made it through the trials, getting to worship at the statue was the top achievement. Code 13 looked over and wanted to know if this was it. Nodded, yeah, they'd made it to the final round. The statue sits in the back hallway. If someone acts up or tries anything disrespectful, they're done for. On the other side of the gate was the nightmare from Su Mew's old life. This was the one behind the first massacre, the guy responsible for piling up bodies, the god who literally destroyed stars. Sumo watched as the boss soloed 3 stages back-to-back without breaking a sweat. He couldn't figure out why the boss didn't even look tired. Sumo just stared, kind of lost, trying to guess if the boss was about to take on stage 4 too. Code 13 totally freaked out. He couldn't believe it, they couldn't even clear the first stage. Was struggling too. Mew just brushed him off. Since there's no timer, everyone could just chill and wait for their skills to recharge. He was the first to sit down and take a break. Code 13 looked right at and called her out, telling her to give his boss a shoulder massage since the guy was tired. Wasn't having any of it, she basically lost it. She couldn't believe Code 13 would even suggest that the respected leader of Pavilion should just go and give some random guy a massage. Code was 13 and honestly couldn't care less. He pretty much told them to move faster unless they felt like handling the 4th stage on their own. Wana looked like she was stressing out while who always acted like a bunny tried to push back. There was no chance Wana was going and Sister wasn't having it either. Just raised her sword looking about ready to swing at him for real. It was clear she wasn't messing around. She was one step away from going off on him. Even Sumu had to respect Code 13 for saying that out loud. It took real guts. Just thinking about that moment looked pretty cool. Sumu even started drooling a bit. Was straight up mad. He just stared down, not having any of it. Someone tried coming at him with some petty insults, but he wasn't backing down. The other person was just messing around, daring him to do something about it, basically turning the whole thing into a game. They stepped through the spirit barrier and just froze. What they saw on the other side was wild, and nobody knew what to say. Nobody could figure out what was going on. The statue just vanished. Code 13 remembered how everyone kept hyping up that sacred statue back in Stage 3, warning that messing with it would get you in serious trouble. Now it just looked like someone was trolling them. Right as he stopped talking, thunder slammed through the sky. He got so freaked out he actually wet himself. Just stared at him, totally judging. The girls didn't even react, they stayed chill. For real, dude, you're not a kid, pull yourself together. Right then, this massive claw shot out of nowhere. The ground straight up rumbled with a huge boom, making it obvious that this creature was on a whole different level. It was a western dragon, the kind you'd see in movies or games. The thing was totally drenched in blood, and nobody had a clue where all the injuries came from. This was Tyr, a demigod-level dragon. He used to just be in Flood Dragon, but then he lucked out and picked up some long blood in him. That's how he leveled up into a real dragon and ended up as the Temple Master's Ride, always posted up guarding the statue deep inside the main hall. Code 13 just froze. No way, a real dragon right in front of him. The black dragon wanted to know if they really followed the master. Hit his chest, showing he was all in. He was sure of it, like even the gods could back him up. The rest of the crew backed him up too, making it clear they were legit, no fakes, just loyal to the core. He knew he had to step up for the master. No way he'd let anyone disrespect him and get away with it. With everyone locked in, they all understood the drill. Nobody was letting that abyssal relic out of their hands. The earth-black dragon pulled its huge jaws wide, and a blue glow started building up inside its mouth. It was about to unleash something serious. Right after that, a glowing shield popped up around everyone. It was the Earth-Black Dragon's buff. Suddenly, everyone's HP and mana shot up by 10,000. Attacks got a solid boost, defense and speed both jumped by 500, and even the crit rate spiked by 50%. Code 13 got hyped, thinking he was unstoppable now, but the boss wasn't having it. At the same time, the system popped up with a warning. The ancient temple had already collapsed, and even the Black Dragon was on its last legs. Turns out the real mastermind behind all this chaos was the destroyer god known as the Tyrant from the Stars. Mu looked at the Earth Black Dragon and just thought, even with that insane power boost, this stage was still way too confusing. Trying to break it down for new players was a headache, and if someone messed up, those wild stats meant they'd get taken over instantly. One wrong move and the whole squad was done for. If he wants to finish this secret quest, he can't mess up. It's all on him now, and there's nobody else to back him up. Code 13 was fired up, yelling out for everyone to take down. He was totally locked in, ready to go all out. Out of nowhere, this massive just showed up. The Earth-Black Dragon's head got split right down the middle. The thing shot up into the sky. The giant sword slammed down and got stuck deep in the ground. The dragon's head hit the ground right next to its body. Out of nowhere, a horned guy dropped in right on top of the dragon's dead body, the sound blasting through the place. Sumu and the rest of the crew all had the exact same look on their faces. The Earth-Black Dragon's huge body slammed down onto the ground. Nobody could believe it. Was that really the destroyer god? If the Black Dragon hadn't thrown up that shield, everybody would have been wiped out instantly. That ape thing just showed up and started wrecking everything. Told everyone to stay put behind the shield, making it clear no one should even think about stepping out. The guys started wondering if the boss was actually going to take on this huge monster alone. They knew their own stats were solid and were ready to jump in and back him up. Watched as, still a bit salty about getting charged earlier, decided she was in too. Even though she had her complaints, she was ready to throw hands now. The reason was simple. That jerk had taken out the Black Dragon and wanted payback. Sumu stopped for a second when he heard that. He couldn't help but think how awesome it'd be if people stayed this together even when the apocalypse hit. The captain told everyone to stay put and not move, laying down the rules. Mew didn't wait around, he just bolted out. Someone called out, wanting to tag along with the boss. He told everyone to stay put. If anyone moved, he'd kick them off the team, no questions asked. For him, going solo was the only way to finish this without getting hurt. He needed the others to trust him and just watch. Wasn't your usual boss fight. He was a legit level 100 alien overlord. Even though he was banged up pretty bad, none of that slowed him down. His hits always landed, nothing could hold him in place, and knocking him back was just not happening. All he cared about was taking over and wrecking everything in his way. Playing as just stood there frozen, eyes glued to the screen. The boss stats popped up, attack 28, then all zeros after that. HP was sitting at 5 million, defense clocked in at 5,000. Code 13, who was acting all cocky before, instantly lost that energy. Seriously, this had to be a joke. Was only level 7. What kind of starter dungeon throws out a level 100 boss? They didn't even stand a chance at doing any real damage. Pointed out that just got wrecked by the Earth-Black Dragon's last attack. Now he's stuck with a brutal injury, his stats tanked by 90%, and he's gonna have to deal with that for the next half hour. Code 13 finally let out a breath, realizing that the terrifying panel he just saw was actually a fake. His real attack stat was only 280, and his HP was sitting at 500,000. Defense freaked out as Sha reacted, thinking that still crazy strong. Honestly, it was. Pointed out that in this other form, he deals straight-up true damage, nothing blocked, and the player actually feels every bit of the pain like it's fully real. Code 13 finally got it. Taking on wouldn't actually end him, but the pain was still all there, no cap. That made Mu God soloing the boss even crazier. Stared at Mew and pointed out that something was off, like he could sense death hanging around him. Mew honestly had no clue either, just as confused as anyone else, and wished he could figure out why this Reaper wouldn't stop showing up in his life. The enemy looked around, searching for any sign of his opponents. He was confident, almost bored, like he didn't even see humans as a threat, just something to crush. To him, all these people were just easy targets, nothing more than prey. Just laughed it off, totally confident that he could take him down solo. Looked at Sumu and honestly wondered if he was all there. The guy seemed weak, way too full of himself, and honestly didn't have a clue. He brought his weapon down hard. Mew instantly dropped into his fighting stance, ready for whatever was coming. Everyone knew things were about to end badly for humans. When landed that hit, the ground just broke apart underneath it. So Mew kicked in wind shadow and started dodging attacks like he was gliding through them. Since didn't have any resistance to elements, Mew's magic attacks with added elemental damage actually hit hard. Couldn't breathe, stuck getting picked off from a distance with no way to fight back. All he wanted was for the guy to actually step up and take him on for real. Sumu ducked behind a big rock, checking out the situation. He thought there was no way he'd just rush in and fight face to face. The dude in front of him was on a whole other level, way higher than his own. Honestly, only someone who wasn't thinking straight would try to take that on head first. Right before switched things up, started pulling out all the tricks he remembered from his old life. He kept busy moving around and hitting from spots where he couldn't get caught. Little by little, he chipped away its health, playing it smart and staying out of danger. Suddenly, ice shot out and slammed right into him, covering him in freezing cold. Let out a furious roar, seriously ticked off at the human who played him. He let loose with this huge move called Demon Blade Impact, hitting everything around him at once. And the rest started getting nervous for Mew. Everyone could tell this attack was about to go wide. They were all thinking, Mew God better be careful. If he doesn't dodge, that's gonna hurt for real. At the same time, a world channel alert showed up. It said Mew God's squad was going up against the Destroyer God inside the ancient wood temple. Players took off sprinting, yelling like they couldn't believe what they just heard. Wait, are they actually about to throw hands with? Mew actually made it all the way to the last stage in the ancient wood temple. Meanwhile, they couldn't even get past the first boss and he's already chilling at stage 4. It honestly felt unreal, like something out of a meme, seriously wild. Nation kept breaking records, first to set off Tree God's Revenge, first to finish it, first solo takedown worldwide, and first to hit stage 4 in the ancient wood temple. All of that thanks to one guy, Mew God. The commander of Country P totally lost control. He slammed his foot into the screen. SHD just scored again and he couldn't believe it. Getting wrecked like this stung hard. All those hours, all that gear, felt like none of it mattered. Wasn't wasting any time. He told Alexia to get everyone in Nation moving fast. Their whole squad needed to jump into the Azure Dragon server right away. The mission was simple, track down a mage named. If they found him, they'd throw a massive offer on the table, 50 million a year. They wanted him in their crew, joining the boss squad and top research group. Alexia was on it, no hesitation. Amir, the Nation player, can't help but show respect to the power of their country. Steps up, ready to back up Team P without hesitation. While all this is going down, other countries are on the grind too. Everyone's trying to snag, no matter what it takes. There's wild offers flying around. Some dudes are throwing out $1 billion, others are dropping crazy stuff like 100 famous actresses. Basically, whoever finds him first wins, and if they mess it up, their bosses are not gonna be happy. Way back at the old wooden temple, dropped a huge area attack right in the middle of the fight. Mew had no choice, he had to face him head on. The skill looked like it hit a bunch of targets at once, but honestly it didn't do any real damage. The blast rolling over the ground wouldn't touch anything sitting under the water. Everyone kept glancing at the boss, hoping he was alright. They started to wonder how much longer that skill would keep going. It felt like it should ended by now. Out of nowhere, started yelling. He noticed health bar hadn't dropped at all. Dude was still at full HP, not even a scratch. Out of nowhere, Mew shot up from the water. Started celebrating right away. Actually managed to avoid Demon Blade Impact. After making the big move, froze up for a second. Now was the time to go all out and rack up as much damage as possible. More meteors crashed down, dropping HP by a ton. That heavy damage only stuck around for 5 minutes, but this time nobody was freaking out. They actually started to think they might pull this off. Slammed his massive sword into the ground again. Just froze for a second. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Actually went for Demon Blade Impact again right after the first one. He was straight up terrified, so he spun around and dove right back into the water. This felt like the system was trolling him, secretly making everything way harder just to mess with him. Was already right behind Mew, standing huge in the water. He looked down at Mew like he was nothing, ready to end it. Just kept diving, heading straight down with no choice but to keep going. Inside the game pod, Mew was struggling. Every nerve in his body was on edge, and he held his breath as long as he could. He knew if he slipped up in breath now, his character would start losing HP. He was right at the edge of finishing his no-damage run, just one move left. Messing up now wasn't an option. He locked in, determined to see it through. He shot up out of the water, heart pounding. That was way too close. Whatever just popped up wasn't anything he remembered from before. He nearly got taken out right then. Now he's gripping the sword again, so pulling off Demon Blade Impact is off the table. Dropped back down to the ground and launched a fireball. A bright flash popped up on the screen. Can't help but smile, he's seriously hyped right now. When the flash goes off, the target can't see anything for 5 seconds. While they're basically blinded, every physical hit just totally misses, no chance of landing a shot. Totally blinded, started swinging his massive sword all over the place, like he was just trying to smack anything that moved. To him, humans were just bugs, basically nothing worth his time. Fired off another round, not letting up for a second. The second those 5 seconds ran out, Mew dipped out of the way and kept moving in circles, staying just out of reach. Boss was out of his mind and Mu God's power was on a whole other level. Watch, totally bought in now. He couldn't help but wonder how Mu God managed to dodge that wild shockwave. Even thought Sumu was next level. It made him think, maybe this guy's really gonna be the top dog when the apocalypse hits. Apocalypse isn't just something people play around with. Nations putting real time and money into this, so it's obvious everyone's betting big on Apocalypse being the next big thing. Now he's stuck thinking about what part he's gonna have in all of it. Another meteor crashed down and health bars started dropping fast. Everyone thought Boss was just on another level. Once he took down, they planned to blast it all over the global chat. Even who usually kept it cool was now a straight-up fan. Everyone started hyping up Mu God, telling him he was close, cheering him on to finish strong. He looked down on everyone, thinking humans didn't stand a chance against him. He was ready to show off his final form, confident that nobody could stop him now. To him, everyone else was just background noise. Started powering up his ultimate move, the kind of that could wipe out everything. The sky looked ripped up, like someone just slashed it open. The water on the floor started disappearing into thin air. This final boss just went off the rails. He's dropping that legendary thunder and fire combo, yeah, the one you always hear rumors about. No clue how anyone's supposed to dodge it when the thunder fire pretty much takes over the entire map. Code 13 finally got it. There was a real reason Mew kept everyone inside. It all made sense now. The boss knew something was up outside the light pillar, who looked like a bunny, was freaking out. He started scanning for Mew God, panicking because he couldn't find him anywhere. There was no pillar to protect him, and honestly it felt like they were toast. The Black Dragon's shield was gone now, still had full HP, which just didn't add up. Code 13 seemed totally lost, like he couldn't figure out what was going on. People started saying stuff like bug or cheat in the chat, even started doubting if Sue messed with since his HP hadn't dropped at all. Then just like that he was teleported out. His name was still glowing, so he was good. He wasn't out. Somehow he totally avoided that. Right now, the only spot that hadn't been wrecked was the little bit of ground right under. Humans, way smaller than these alien star beings, actually stepped up and tried to take them on. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He glanced at the boss, wondering if the guy was actually done for. Struggled to stay on his feet, barely holding it together. He knew the only reason he was this messed up was because Black Dragon had landed a brutal hit on him. If that attack hadn't happened, he'd still be good to go. Sumu's voice cut through the air, loud and clear. He started roasting, calling him out for being weak and saying he was falling apart already. He didn't hold back, basically clowning for thinking he was some big deal Star-Lord when, in Sumu's eyes, he was just trash. The teammates totally lost it, celebrating hard. Boss was still in the game, somehow slipping past a massive hit. Everyone was just trying to figure out how he even pulled that off. Even couldn't believe what he was seeing. Was standing right there under legs, looking totally fine. No way that should happen. Noticed a bunny under him freaking out, making noise. That spot was totally safe. The thunder fire hadn't touched it at all. Watched hype him up, it was wild. What everyone thought was the riskiest place actually turned out to be the safest move. Code 13 couldn't help but be impressed. Boss moves for real. The spot was kinda sus, but dodging like that took real skill. Mew didn't waste any time. Right after, he brought out his spirit energy clone. Death God's hands started glowing, and suddenly, every hit he landed packed double the power. They both went all out on, throwing everything they had at him. When his HP finally hit 0, his huge sword just dropped to the ground. Humans really had no clue what was going on. They thought they were in charge, but honestly these guys were running the show the whole time. Just laughed real cold. He wasn't buying any talk about rulers. He figured people should just focus on running their own lives. He wondered why someone would even try to mess with their crew. To him, this guy didn't bring anything to the table. He drove his staff right into, not holding back at all. They'd cross paths again someday. Dropped to the ground. Out of nowhere, the whole sky lit up with this insanely bright flash. Sunlight blasted down, lighting up the ruins and clearing out the smoke, wiping out every last enemy.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Webtoon Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.